How is everybody this morning? I am feeling much better today. Hey Carla, hey Judy. Um I want to start off by thanking the replay crew. That's something I forget to do a lot. Sorry. My breakfast shake is making me burp. So I really appreciate my replay crew. I am sorry that I forget to thank you guys, but I really appreciate y'all. I have wanted to watch this trial for a while, and I really didn't expect it to do as well as it's doing. So I really appreciate you guys. I love my chat, but I really appreciate my replay crew because you guys, hey Jelly Bean, because you guys are watching it, and I know that people have lives and they have work and they have whatever. So I really appreciate you guys that are watching it later. You can't be in the chat. But if you ever can be in the chat and join us, I appreciate that. I would appreciate that too. So thank you guys. So today we are going to get to Euphrates. I think he was was he bartender or security? And I think a detective. And his testimony is really, really short. I wish you could be in chat all the time, but I know that you do important work with your husband because you're his backup. So what you do is important. So you need to be there. But I like it when you're in chat. So the detective, I think his testimony is like 15 minutes or something. It's really short. And then we're going to start, what's his name? Adriano, the driver, I guess is who he is, that actually made the 911 call.
First, please.
Okay. Sorry. E-U-P as in Peter, H as in Harry, R as in Tom, H as in Harry, E-S as in Samantha. La Londriz, L-A-L-R-I-Z.
Thank you, Rich. If you sit back and microphone, you don't have to lean forward, and then we can hear you.
Okay.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Thanks for coming back. I know you were here yesterday too and waited all day. We appreciate you coming back. Thank you. I'd like to invite your attention to February 2nd of 2003. Were you
Security officer for the House of Blues in Los Angeles.
on Sunset Boulevard?
Yes.
Could you pull that microphone back towards you? Pull it right underneath your chin. I'll just keep pushing it back. There you go. Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
How long had you worked at the House of Blues on Sunset as of that day?
About 2 years, about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Did you have a prior history with the House of Blues?
Yes, at the one in New Orleans, I worked there for about 4 years, 5 years.
And from New Orleans, you transferred to the one on Sunset?
Yes.
And what exactly was your job that day at the House?
He didn't testify yesterday. They just talked about him. Yesterday the waitress talked about him and said his name, but they asked his last name and she was like, I don't know how to pronounce it. And I don't know how to pronounce it either. His first name is Euphrates and it's Law something. I don't know. It went too fast.
House of Blues on Sunset.
I was a security officer, but a trainer at that moment in time.
Did you also work from time to time as a bartender?
Yes.
What were your hours that day?
My hours were from 7 to closing.
So you would have worked past midnight into the next day February 3rd, correct?
Yes,
About what time did you get off?
I'll say about 2:30 or close to, 2:30.
What exactly was your job as a security officer? Were you assigned to a particular part of the House of Blues?
Yes, but at that moment, being that I was a trainer, I was assigned to certain spots and to check up on certain people.
Were you working near the foundation room?
Yes, I'm security officer for the foundation.
You've mentioned a couple times that you were a training officer. Can you explain that for us? What does that mean?
A trainer is a person that trains another fellow employee. And at that moment in time, I was training Lana Clarkson.
Your Honor, may we put People's 14 up for identification?
Yes.
Thank you, Sudie. We have People's 14 for identification up on the screen. You just mentioned that one of your jobs was training Lana Clarkson. Is this Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
Explain that a little in greater detail. What were you doing with respect to Lana Clarkson and helping her train at the House of Blues? Tell us about that.
She was a security officer. There's a difference between the security officer in the foundation room and security officers for the club.
Tell us about that.
We are more VIP. We have to dress in blazers, jackets, while downstairs you could wear a t-shirt. It's different. Work in different crowds. Upstairs we work with celebrities, VIP and members. So we have to go through certain procedures as far as how we have to talk to certain artists or certain members. We cannot just be, excuse the word, ghetto. So we have to just be more professional. So at the same time, I was also explaining to her, talking her through as far as what she needs to do, who she needs to talk to. If she feels that she needs to question anything, she will call me on the radio and I will help her in any way that I can.
Let me ask you a couple of questions based on that last answer. Radios, tell us about that. The security people at the House of Blues in
Yes.
the foundation room had radios?
Yes, all the security officers in the foundation room have radios. And the other persons that have a radio is the bar, and besides the manager.
And did these radios include a headphone?
Yes, earpiece.
Earpiece, thank you, so that you wouldn't disturb other people.
Yes.
You talked a little bit, and I'd like you to talk a little bit more about how security was at the foundation room because of the clientele. I think an earlier witness referred to this as kid gloves. I mean, did you treat people really nice? Is that the idea?
Yes, there's certain people that we have to treat golden.
Golden?
Golden.
Okay. On that day, as you were trying to help Lana Clarkson, is it fair to say that you were keeping an eye on her because you were training her?
Yes, that's definitely.
And where exactly was she working? What was her job that day about, 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock? What was she supposed to be doing?
That whole day, the beginning of the day, she started with me downstairs as far as so she could know about tickets, the wristbands. The wristbands.
Tell us about the wristband.
We carry different wristbands. The club has a different wristband than upstairs. The club is paper, and we have plastic. We have a certain type of plastic that we wrap around. Those are our special wristbands. The members get a different colors, and the members' guests get a different color, but they both plastic compared to the club that is paper.
And
So
that is for what purpose? To distinguish who gets into the foundation room?
who gets into the foundation room and who also gets into the club. Not necessarily that you are a member and you get a wristband means that you're going to go down to the concert. The foundation room is we same entity but different type of feel. So you could go to the foundation room as a member, but if you didn't buy tickets, that doesn't mean that you're going to go to the club. So sometimes you will have to carry your member's wristband and also your club wristband to go into both floors.
So you spent some time explaining to Lana Clarkson all of that.
Yes, I have to explain all that.
Was one of her jobs about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to be at the door of the foundation room to decide who gets to get in or who doesn't?
Yes, because at that moment in time, She went upstairs and she's at the door of the foundation room. I think we stationed her there around 12. I'm sorry. And from that moment on, she started being at the door of the foundation room. Anyone that walks through that door has to be checked as far as a wristband, because sometimes you get people from the club wanting to meet our members or meet our guests that are in there, which is some celebrities. So they will want to come in. If you don't have the plastic wristband, then you cannot walk in. And that was her job, to distinguish. If you don't have a wristband at all, then you can't walk in. You can't be nowhere.
No matter who you are?
No matter who you are. If they don't know you, I'm sorry. Let's say if I've never met you and you walk in, you don't have a wristband, I'm not gonna let you in.
You're probably not going to let me in anyway.
No,
But if I didn't have a wristband, no chance, right?
no chance.
So from midnight until closing, based on your last answer, as I understand it, Lana Clarkson's job was to be at the door of the foundation room to make sure that only the right people with the right wristbands got in. Is that correct?
Yes,
And as your trainer, you were keeping an eye on her to make sure she was doing her job and knew what was going on.
yes,
Prior to that day, did you know who Phil Spector was?
yes, I did.
You'd seen him before.
Yes,
At some point that evening, about between 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, did you see Phil Spector near Lana Clarkson?
I seen him after I was told.
Somebody mentioned his name to you
Yes,
over the radio or otherwise?
otherwise.
Who talked to you?
Sophia,
Just our last witness.
yes,
In fact, she was a waitress in the foundation room that evening.
yes.
What did she say to you about Phil Spector?
That he's in the hallway and that he is getting loud because for some reason.
I'm going to object to this hearsay.
It goes to his state of mind and what he did next.
All right, I'll admit it not for the truth of the matter asserted, ladies and gentlemen, you to receive it only to explain what this witness did following what he was told. You may proceed.
Please finish.
So that something is going on, to go over there and find, to check up on Lana, because Lana doesn't recognize Phil and she has stopped him. So he's not too happy at the moment in time. So I told Sophia, I'll go and take care of it right now.
And did you go take care of it?
Yes, while I was walking towards her, because I was at Sunset and she's at the beginning of the door. While I was walking towards her, I'm trying to explain to her over the radio. And I told her that I'll be right there. So I got there.
So you talked to her over your little ear radio.
Yes,
And you told her, I'll be right there. I'm going to need to help you on this.
yes.
And when you arrived at where Lana Clarkson was stationed at the foundation room, what did you say or do next?
Lana Clarkson was at the door still. Mr. Phil Spector was in the bathroom, was in the restroom. When I arrived towards Lana, that's when he was walking out of the bathroom. And then he recognized me. He's like, hey, you're free.
I'm going to start on this all non-responsive. That wasn't.
I believe it is responsive, and if that's the basis of the objection was overruled.
You can finish.
So when he seen me, he was like, hey, Euphrates. I approached, hey, Mr. Phil Spector, how you doing? So that's when I was like, let me just introduce, I'm sorry, Lana Clarkson, this is Phil Spector. Phil Spector, this is Lana Clarkson. She's one of our new ladies. I'm sorry that this happened. And, I explained to Lana, hey, this is Phil Spector. I don't know if you know who he is. And she shook her head saying, no. I was like, well, okay. He's treated golden. He is treated like Dan Aykroyd. So
Let me ask you a couple of questions based on that last answer. Phil Spector apparently recognized you, called you by your first name.
yes,
And by the way, do you see him here in court?
yes.
And could you, just for the record, point him out and tell the judge what he's wearing?
He's wearing a gray jacket with a blue shirt.
Indicating Mr. Spector.
So he greeted you, and correct?
Yes,
And you treated him as you're supposed to treat guests at the foundation room.
yes,
And you explained to Lana Clarkson exactly who he was.
yes,
Was it clear to you that Lana Clarkson didn't know Phil Spector from anybody?
yes.
She just didn't have a clue who he was.
I'm sorry, at first I didn't either.
Yes, you're cutting him off mid-answer.
I'm sorry. Please finish.
I'm sorry. She didn't know who he was, and at first, I'm sorry, but I didn't know who he was until I met him before.
The first time you met Phil Spector, somebody had to do for you what you did for Lana Clarkson?
Yes, sorry to say yes.
Explain who he was.
Mr. Gregory, Kim Gregory, the manager. I guess he's big into music, so he knew Mr. Phil Spector. He knew who he was and who he represented.
All right, start on the latter part of the answer.
If you
Not
want it,
responsive, it's without foundation.
fine. If you want it stricken, it's stricken. The jury's admonished.
Also, in an earlier answer, you told us that you told Lana Clarkson that Phil Spector should be treated like gold, like Dan Aykroyd. What did that mean? Is that some kind of House of Blues code for how you should treat people?
Well, yes, is the code basically saying you have your members and you have golden members. There's different types of members in the membership. Because of the status, sometimes they're like Mr. Dan Aykroyd, we have certain tables reserved for him. We don't bother him. We just give them their privacy. We're not allowed to talk to them. If they talk to us, we talk to them. If they need something from us there, that's fine. But then outside of that, it's different. So when Dan Aykroyd comes in, he is treated golden. That when he comes in, he has his table. If someone is there, he'll wait, but we have to either compliment the guests that we have there to take them somewhere else to accommodate Dan Aykroyd to his table. Those are the things that I'm talking about.
And by saying these words to Lana Clarkson, treat him like gold, treat Phil Spector like Dan Aykroyd, you were telling her exactly how to treat Phil Spector that evening.
To treat him with respect because he didn't have a wristband. Dan Aykroyd doesn't wear a wristband. Dan Aykroyd doesn't like to wear a wristband because sometimes it bothers him. Sometimes he doesn't know how to yank it out. So there's certain guests, golden guests or platinum guests or memberships that we know them, everyone should know them. We as employees are given lists sometimes of like, okay, these people are coming in pre-shift. Before the shift starts, we get a pre-shift. They tell us, these are the people coming in. Remember this, da, 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 da. So then we'll remember. So when they walk in, even if they don't have a wristband, we should know as security officers, waiters, bartenders, managers, when they walk in, we don't bother them.
Right.
But their guests, we do have to ask for a wristband.
Why is Dan Aykroyd so important to the House of Blues?
Dan Aykroyd is so important because he's one of our sponsors. He's part of the House of Blues.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So although Lana Clarkson's job at the doorway of the House of Blues was to check people for wristbands, you're telling us there's a certain class of or group of members for the House of Blues Foundation room who don't need it,
Exactly.
and that Phil Spector was one of those people.
Yes.
So after you talked to her, did she change the way she dealt with Phil Spector?
She just apologized because she was very polite. She apologized and said, well, my name is Lana Clarkson. She introduced herself again. And then he shook her hand. And then they walked in. And then me and Lana proceeded to talk and,
In your last answer, you said they walked in. Phil Spector was with someone else.
Yes.
Who was he with? Do you know?
He was with a short hair blonde girl.
And once they walked in, do you know where Phil Spector and the woman he was with, where they went in the foundation room?
Yes, to our Buddha room, because we were clearing out the rooms.
Because it was so late?
Yeah. It was last call.
The last call is some kind of time designated.
Call is one for making last call. It's like, okay, so I was together because by 2:00, need to leave.
So you told us that Phil Spector and his companion went into the Buddha room. Who was their server?
Sophia. And there was another waitress, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but she was just walking around because she remembered Phil Spector. She has served them before, but Sophia was the main waitress.
Do you know whether or not after Phil Spector and his companion, the short blonde woman, was seated in the Buddha room, whether they ordered anything?
Yes. This happened afterwards. After after I spoke to Lana, I walked out. When I walked out, Maybe about 5 minutes later, I was clearing up stuff because, like I said, it was almost last call. It's time to clear up. I'm walking back, and when I'm walking back, I just wanted to make sure if everything was okay as far as Mr. Spector, the room, because we're making sure that we're clearing everybody out, and that if he wants, he could stay. So, being that I'm the trainee at the moment in time, the trainer, I was basically in charge of making sure that everybody, all our guests and all our employees are okay. So I walked in to tell him, is everything okay? You could stay here while y'all staying here. We're gonna be clearing everybody out, okay? So make yourself feel comfortable, and that's when we're
Phil Spector was ordering a drink.
yes.
Do you know what, if that was the only thing that was ordered or something else was?
Well, he ordered drinks for him and for the young lady, and the young lady didn't want the drink.
What did she want? Do you recall?
She said no, just get me water.
And eventually Sophia did that.
Well, yeah, afterwards because he asked to,
Objection, question to answer.
It's been answered.
What
Next
happened
question.
after the order?
the order. The young girl walked over to Sophia and I guess whispered, just bring me water.
And that's what Sophia did, correct?
Yes.
At some point, did you notice whether or not the young woman that was with Phil Spector left?
Yes, she did.
How did that happen? Do you know?
I was standing in front of Sunset clearing the booth out when I was watching her walking out, but she felt like she was going to walk out, but I guess she came back in and she felt uncomfortable. So she wanted to leave. I was like, you leaving? She's like, yes. And that's so from there on, I carried my booth and she was in front of Sunset at that moment in time. After that, I lost sight of, yeah.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions about that. Did you say she said that she was uncomfortable or appeared to be uncomfortable?
Appeared to be uncomfortable. And when I asked her, is she leaving? She's like, yes.
What did she do or say that made you feel that she appeared to be uncomfortable?
The way she was acting edgy, she didn't seem like she had any drinks in her and she was already drinking water. She seemed edgy. She didn't want to be inside the room. She didn't want to be near the room. She wanted to just go home. And when I asked her, she said, yeah, I want to just leave.
And as far as you know, that's what she did.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned you moved your booth. I need to ask you that.
We had a booth. We have a booth downstairs in the foundation room by Olive. That's where everybody has to come in through, where our valet is at. The reason why is because of our valet. We treat members special so that when they valet, they don't have to pay for their valet. And at the same time, when they walk in, we have an elevator that they could just walk up to, go up to the foundation room. Now, at the same time, we sometimes give them a little privilege as far as late night. We know that they go bar hopping, so we go put our booth from downstairs around 12 o'clock. We bring it up to the Sunset entrance. So that way we'll have somebody downstairs with a wristband giving people wristbands, but we also have our booth on Sunset. So that way if there's a member that needs to walk in through Sunset, doesn't want to be seen, or even a celebrity, if we know, recognize, we just let them in through Sunset because it's more private also.
Just a separate private entrance.
Yes.
Now, after the young woman, the young blonde woman who was with Phil Spector, indicated to you that she was uncomfortable and wanted to leave, did you either see or hear Lana Clarkson with Phil Spector or asked to sit with Phil Spector?
Yes.
About when was that? After the young woman left?
Yes.
So it would have been after, what, 2 o'clock? Do you know?
Yes.
What happened? Explain to us.
She asked if she could have a drink
And how do you know that?
because she asked me over the radio because I was in charge at the moment in time.
So you were still communicating over your radios.
Yes.
What did Lana Clarkson ask you?
She asked me if she could have a drink with Phil Spector. And I said, wait, hold on, let me talk to Kim.
Kim was?
Kim was our manager. Kim Gregory was our manager at the moment in time. But Shane was our double. So he was almost like general manager material.
Okay.
He overheard the situation because he was there. He was in the room. And he said, no, you could sit down, but you cannot have a drink. She was like, oh, okay.
So you heard Shane, who apparently overheard the radio conversation,
because he has a radio.
tell that to Lana Clarkson, no drink, but you can sit down.
Yes.
And after Shane communicated that over the radio to Lana Clarkson, did you see Lana Clarkson sit down with him, with Phil Spector?
I seen her going into the room, but before she went into the room, she had to check up with me as far as the closing procedures. So we went down through the closing procedures. I told her what she needed to do as far as she needs to take care of the candles. She needs to make sure that the fireplace was turned off. So she was going through all procedures. Everything that I was training her, that I trained her to do, she had to do by herself this time. You know, a certain moment in time, she goes with me and I'm doing it while she's going with me. But then there's a moment in time that she has to do it by herself. So she did that. After she did that, she asked, and I was like, yeah. Shane said it was okay. And that's when I see her walking up. I walked out to finish doing what I needed to make sure that everybody else is nice, to see who I need to cut off as far as security.
Let me ask you again a couple questions based on that. As security at the House of Blues Foundation room, you had certain kind of closed down procedures. Is that what
Yes.
you're telling us? And that night, Lana Clarkson's job was to do a number of these things, including blowing out the candles.
Yeah, blowing out the candles is one of our things that we need to do.
Could I have a moment, please, Your Honor?
You may.
And is that the last time that you saw Lana Clarkson, when she sat down with Phil Spector after blowing out the candles and doing that sort of thing?
No, the last time I seen her was when she was walking out the door.
And when was that?
That was when she was about to leave. I asked her, she's she getting the van? Are you gonna? She's like, yeah, I'm okay. There's other people downstairs. I was like, okay, and I walked away.
Was she with Phil Spector or not at that point?
At that moment in time, I'm sorry, I don't know if he was in front, but I seen her walking away.
Walking from the foundation room.
Yes, walking from the foundation.
And in that last answer, you mentioned the van. What's that all about?
Oh, we have employee van. Nobody leaves without getting a ride from the employee.
So if she was going to leave alone, she would have gone in the employee van, because nobody should leave the House of Blues at night alone.
Objection calls for special version.
I believe it's already been testified to as to how that
Yes,
works.
and answered also.
The objection's overruled.
Is that correct?
Yes, we have to, even guys.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Lalandras.
Good
Am I
morning.
saying it right, Lalandras?
La Londres?
I don't think I can put the little twist on the accent there.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you. As I understand it, you were working that night in what capacity, sir?
Security officer?
Okay. And you were not the only security officer there that evening, were you?
No.
Okay, you were just one of a number of security officers, correct?
Yes.
And I think you said you were also doing some training, is that correct?
Yes.
You were training Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
You've identified Lana Clarkson here this morning up on the screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Lana Clarkson was a tall woman. She had a physicality about her. Is that a fair statement?
I don't understand physicality.
Well, she was a tall woman, wasn't she?
Yes.
Over 6 feet, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when I say she had a physicality, she wasn't frail. She wasn't skinny. She was, I don't like to use the word substantial because it connotes something else. I might use that for Mr. Cutler, but not for her. She'll get even with me later for that, Your Honor. What I mean is she was a tall, imposing woman. Pretty woman.
Pretty woman, yes.
Okay. Now, you were keeping an eye on Lana that night, correct?
Yes.
And you were doing that because that was part of your responsibility in training her, correct?
Yes.
And you wanted to make sure you did your very best job in training her, right?
Yes.
Okay. And she was responsive to you when you would instruct her and tell her what to do, right?
Yes.
Didn't give you a hard time about that, did she?
No.
Okay. Now let's talk about the time when Mr. Spector arrived. He arrived approximately around 2 o'clock. Is that correct? Give or take a little bit?
Less than 2 o'clock.
I'm sorry, sir?
Less than 2 o'clock.
All right. When you say less, you mean before 2 o'clock. correct?
Before 2 o'clock.
And what time did he leave?
After 2 o'clock.
What time did he leave? What time after 2 o'clock?
I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at my watch.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that he was there about 30, 35, 40 minutes, something like that?
I would say yes.
Okay. Now, during that time, Mr. Spector went to the foundation room, correct?
Yes.
And there are other members other than him of the foundation room in February of 2003, correct? 2003.
2003?
Yes.
Oh,
We're talking about,
2003, sorry.
yes,
Yeah.
that's okay. It's all right. In
Yeah, that's-
February of 2003, there were other members than him. He wasn't the only member, correct?
Yes.
And there were other patrons in the foundation room that evening and that morning, right?
Yes.
Okay. Some of whom you knew, right?
Yes.
Now, I think you told us that Ms. Clarkson had certain closed down procedures that she had to go through, correct?
Yes.
And you had instructed her in those so she would know what to do, correct?
Yes.
And during the time that Mr. Spector entered the foundation room with his guests that night, things were starting to wind down for the evening, correct?
Yes.
The bar was about to close, right?
Yes.
Closing hours 2 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And during this time, I think you indicated that clientele, customers, patrons were being escorted out of the room. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And during this time when Mr. Spector was seated there with his guest, people were leaving, not coming, right?
People were leaving, yes.
Okay. Is there any way you can estimate for us how many people were leaving during that period of time? Are we talking about 5 or 10 people, 20 or 30 people? What would you say?
Maybe close to, I don't know, probably 30 around that time.
Okay. And there'd be no way that Sophia Holkeen, who was working as a waitress that night, she could not have missed people leaving, correct? Patrons going out?
Objection, that's called for speculation.
Sustained.
You saw patrons leaving, correct?
I saw a couple of people leaving.
Okay. And during that time, well, you were busy with your obligations too, correct?
Yes.
And during that time, Sophia Holkeen was working as a server that night, correct?
Cleaning up, yes.
Okay. Now, what were the closed down procedures that Lana Clarkson had as her responsibility that evening? You mentioned she had to blow out the candles. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned she had to turn down or turn off the fireplace, correct?
Yes.
There's a fireplace in the foundation room?
Yes.
Okay. What else did she have to do during that half-hour period of time in which the club is closing down?
Evacuate everyone. I mean, not evacuate like there's a fire.
I understand.
Sorry.
That's
Make
all
sure
right.
that everybody is
Leaves.
taken. Yeah.
Okay. And escorted out in a nice way, correct?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I didn't go to law school for nothing. Okay. So that was part of her responsibility to escort people out in a very nice manner, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that the conclusion of the evening, the patrons and their guests' experience was a nice one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that in the foundation room, part of the philosophy of the House of Blues was that the experience they had was to exceed their expectations? That's a fair statement, isn't it?
I don't understand.
Okay. During this half hour, 40-minute, 35-minute close down period, Lana did in fact follow your instructions and accept her responsibilities of the close down procedures, correct?
Yes.
And you kept an eye on her from time to time to make sure she did these things, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Not just me, there's other people.
Okay. Now, at some point, I think you indicated that she asked if she could have a drink with Mr. Spector, correct?
Yes.
And you overheard that on the radio, correct?
Yes.
And I think you indicated that that request came from whom?
Lana asked that.
Lana asked that.
Yes.
And you're sure of that because you heard the voice, right?
Yes.
And you were familiar with Lana's voice, correct?
Yes.
And that request got passed on, didn't it? It got passed on from Kim to Shane.
No, it didn't get passed on.
All right. Help me here. Explain to me when she made this request, who responded? Did you respond?
I responded on the radio.
What
And
did
so
you say?
did Shane responded.
Okay.
You have a radio, I have a radio, she has a radio, she has a radio. We could all hear in conversation. So if I'm talking to you, they could hear us and they could jump in whenever they want, as long as As soon as they hear the click, they could just press the button and talk to you.
So the line is open to whoever ever happens to have an earpiece, correct?
Yes.
All right. Shane responded, is that correct?
Yes.
And Shane told Lana, no, you cannot have a drink with Mr. Spector, correct?
But you can sit down.
Okay. And then I was going to ask you, and then, as I understand it, Shane told Lana that she could sit down with Mr. Spector, is that correct? Or did,
Yes.
Hold on a minute, I want you to think about this. Or did Miss Clarkson ask, if I can't have a drink with him, may I sit with him?
No, Shane knows that if a guest asks to have a drink, okay, out of respect, you cannot have a drink, but you can sit down and talk.
Okay. So
Shane initiated it because it was asked.
I understand. And Shane was serving that night as the general manager,
As a double director of operations.
Okay. And he informed her that that was okay.
Yes.
After you heard that on your earpiece, did you see Lana Clarkson?
Yes.
What did you see her do?
I seen her taking care of her duties.
Okay. She did not go and sit down with him, did she? She finished up her obligations, her close down procedures, right?
Yes.
Okay. And when was the next time you saw her after that?
Taking her earpiece and asking me if everything is taken care of. I was like, okay, everything is taken care of. It's like, okay, I'm going to sit down.
Okay. So
Before you continue, I take it you have a ways to go, is that correct? More than 10?
I do.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our noon recess. We've been working without a break. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition. We'll come back at 1:30. Sir, you'll come back at 1:30 and don't discuss your testimony with anyone except the attorneys in the case. We'll see you at 1:30 this afternoon. Thank you. Yes.
Order court's again in session.
All parties, jurors, alternates, and the witness are present as heretofore. You may resume, Mr. Rosen.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
When we broke this morning, we were talking about some of the policies at the House of Blues, and I wanted to ask you, as I understand it, employees at the House of Blues, especially one in Sunset, they have different designations. For example, server, hostess, security, bartender, different designations, correct?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show an exhibit here in a second up on the screen, and I'd ask you to take a look at it. Okay, Jim, could you help me, please? This is what's called as I remember, a punch detail report. You know what that is, don't you? Is that yes?
Yes. Sorry.
You have to say yes or no. Okay.
Sorry.
So when it's in, you can get it down.
Okay.
All right. And this is a punch detail report. It looks like it shows for the range of February 2nd. Jim, can you blow that up, please? Yeah, right up. No, it's for Tuesday, February 4th, 2003, 10:52 a.m., correct?
Okay. Yes.
All right. Now, Jim, could you blow up the date range underneath where it says punch detail report at the very top? Okay. And it shows the date range of February 2nd to February 2nd, correct?
Yes.
Now, this punch detail report, as I understand it, it's an official business record of the House of Blues, correct?
Yes.
And basically, Mr. Launders, it tells us who worked that day, how long they worked, and what they got paid. Is that correct?
Yes.
Jen, please. Yes, right there. So could you blow up that whole line? A little bit larger, please. Okay. Give it to me as large as you can. Can you see that? You see a name up on the left-hand side?
Yes.
It says Clarkson, Lana.
Yes.
Okay. And you see a date there?
No more.
Where to go, Jen? Okay.
Yes.
And that is for the date of Sunday, February 2nd, 2003, 6:02 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And Jen, can we do with the rest of it what you just did? That would be terrific. Okay, let's just hold that a moment. What time does it indicate that Ms. Clarkson came to work on February 2nd, 2003?
6:02 p.m.
Okay. And what time did it show she checked out that next morning, which would be February 3rd?
221.
If we go all the way over to the right side, under the word total, Jen, could you highlight that, please? There's a set of numbers there that says 8.32, is that right? What is that? Is that the total amount of hours that she worked that day?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a rate on that as to what she was paid for that 8.32 hours?
What is the relevancy of her pay?
May I approach her?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lalanders, I think I was asking you a question. It shows that she worked 8.32 hours from the 3rd, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you know, what was the pay scale, the pay rates for servers at that time who worked that amount of hours?
Jackson, foundation and also pay and relevance is only importance to this to Lana Clarkson, not other ways.
Well, to see if he's familiar with it, but she was either a waiter, a waitress, or a server, as I understand it. So I'll sustain the objection to the particular question. You may go into the area that we discussed at the bench.
Okay. Are you familiar, how long had you been working at the House of Blues that time, sir?
About a year and a half, almost 2.
Okay, were you familiar with the different pay scales and pay rates that were paid employees at the House of Blues?
Not really, but I know that everybody gets paid, a little different.
Okay. Were you familiar at that time with what somebody like Lana Clarkson got paid per hour?
I think it was 10.
Jackson, speculate.
All right, do you know one way or the other, sir?
Not really, sir.
All right, the objection is sustained. The answer is stricken. The jury is admonished to disregard it.
Let me ask it this way. Do you know a range, not a specific rate, but do you know a range approximately of what she would have been paid at that time?
Again, I might say I think it's $10, probably 11.
Let me ask this.
I'm sorry, was there an objection?
Well, there was an objection.
The objection is sustained. The answer is stricken because this witness does not know for sure. You can get to it perhaps through a different witness, and the jury is admonished. You may proceed.
Do you know this? Was Lana Clarkson paid on an hourly basis?
Yes.
The foundation room, that was an area of the House of Blues in February of 2003 that was very sought after by employees to work in, particularly servers. Isn't that true?
I'm sorry, repeat that again. I'm so sorry.
In 2003, in February, the foundation room and the Buddha room were areas of the House of Blues on Sunset Boulevard that were very sought out by employees to work because of the fact that there were celebrities there, correct?
Not just the Buddha room. The foundation room is the foundation room. The
Correct.
Buddha room is a room part of the foundation room. So if whoever wants to work in the foundation room, you work the foundation room. Yeah. It wasn't that it was sought out as far as by people working there. Yeah, it's a great connection, but you get connected working in the restaurant or working in the foundation room because artists do go, they decide to go either or. So you speak to people no matter what.
I understand that. But the A-list Hollywood people or the A-list music people, they don't go downstairs on the first floor, second floor. They go up to the foundation room.
Yes.
So the servers or the waiters or waitresses who work in the foundation room and or the Buddha room have an opportunity to meet those kinds of people, whereas they would not necessarily have that opportunity on the first or second floor. That's true, isn't it? It's a question.
It's a question. He may answer the question if he's able to.
We're there to work. Yeah, as far as meeting people, we cannot. That's some of the rules and regulations that we have as
No,
far
I'm not,
as.
sir, I'm not asking.
Okay.
He may finish his answer, and I think it is relevant to what he was asked. You may finish your answer.
Go ahead, sir.
We cannot approach people unless if they approach us. If they approach us, then yes, we could talk to them.
Okay, so you said if they approach you, correct?
Yes, we have to be polite.
I understand that, but also if you are approached by individuals in the foundation room by, say, a certain strike. Let me ask this way. If a patron or a member of the foundation room approaches you or approaches Sophia Holking or Lana Clarkson, that's fine, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry.
it put in more of a basic terms, you employees cannot go ahead and solicit them. But if they approach you and offer you, that's a different story and that's acceptable.
If they talk to us, yes.
Okay. So the fact that Mr. Spector would invite Ms. Clarkson or Ms. Holkeen to have a drink with him or invite them out afterwards, that's okay. As long as they don't solicit it, right?
As far as the inside is concerned, anything while we working, they could ask us and we treat them golden.
Okay.
Outside of the building, that's a no-no.
In the foundation room, individuals who work there, they come in contact, as you said, with the A-list people, correct?
We do go, yes,
Okay. Celebrity individuals, correct?
yes,
Famous people, correct?
yes,
Rich people, correct?
yes.
So in February of 2003, let me ask this, who else was working the foundation room along with Lana that night?
Okay, we had about probably 4 to 5 security officers, three cocktailers, 2 bartenders.
Let's stop for a minute. You said 3 cocktailers.
Yes,
Was Sophia Holkeen one of the cocktailers?
yes.
Who are the other 2?
There was one, I'm sorry, but I don't know her name. We used to call her Shakira.
Shakira, okay, that's another one. And who was the third one?
And the other one was a short hair, dark black hair, young girl.
Do you remember this young lady's name or nickname?
I don't want to say the nickname.
Okay. Thank you for saving me the embarrassment of that. Okay, so we'll call her the short, dark-haired girl. Okay. And the 3 of them worked together that evening, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so they were coworkers.
yes,
And as far as you know, they were friendly with one another, correct?
yes.
Okay. And do you know whether or not the 3 of them had worked together previously on any particular shift?
Yes,
Okay. So they had a history of working together, is that right?
yes,
History of being coworkers.
yes.
And you never witnessed a situation where the 3 of them didn't get along working professionally, is that right?
That's incorrect.
Oh.
We're like families. Every brother and sister has an argument every so often.
Every dog has its day, huh?
Sometimes we just argue, but that doesn't mean that we hate each other.
Okay. Did you ever see Miss Holkeen argue with either Shakira or the short, dark-haired woman?
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Let me ask you this question. How does the House of Blues in February of 2003 maintain its liquor inventory in the foundation room?
Jackson, no foundation beyond his expertise.
You have to lay a foundation, I'll
Sure.
sustain it.
Are you familiar, you're familiar with the fact that there is a bar in the foundation room, correct?
Yes,
You're familiar with the fact that that bar serves liquor, is that correct?
yes,
Various kinds of liquor.
yes,
Vodka, scotch, bourbon, gin, all different kinds, right?
yes.
Are you familiar with how they maintain an inventory for liquor in that particular
Same
bar?
objection and relevancy.
Well, first, let's see if he's familiar, and then we'll worry about the relevancy. Do you know how the bar is stocked?
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
Answer the question as to how it's stocked.
We stock it up depending on the night, but we usually, we make our inventories on Mondays as far as we do the bar count on Mondays.
Okay, now you're using a term of art. When you say we do the bar count, tell the jury what that means.
Meaning on Mondays after the week, if we have a bottle, the bottle is this high, so we consider that a 10. So we rate it. Halfway is a 5. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we put down in a sheet according to what we see. So we mark up the bottles.
Okay. How do you, explain if you would please to the jury, how do you determine by the end of the week how many bottles you've gone through or how much liquor you've sold? How's that done?
Same objection and relevancy.
You're going to have to show me relevancy, Mr. Rose.
Sure. Can we approach?
Yes. You may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Lalandris, you've told us how the House of Blues maintains its stock. Is there a manner in which the House of Blues has in place a way to check whether or not,
I'm sorry.
is there a procedure, is there a regulation, is there some manner that exists at the House of Blues in February of 2003 to check and determine whether or not any bottles of liquor or alcohol are missing?
Yes,
Tell us about that. How do they do that?
we have a sheet. The only people that have keys to the liquor room, to the liquor shack, which is downstairs, is managers. No supervisors, not even me that I was like an acting supervisor that day, has keys to the liquor shack. Only managers, Dobo, general managers have keys to the liquor shack. Managers and Dobos. Dobos are directors of venues of operation. And that was what Shane was, a Dobo.
Okay. In the bar, in the foundation room, where is the alcohol, the actual liquor bottles?
Okay, we have a liquor shack at the bottom of the entrance on the foundation room. That liquor shack supplies the club, which is on the first floor, all the bars on the club, the bar in the second floor, which is the restaurant, and the bar in the foundation room, which is on the third floor. In order to get that, you look at your bar. If you see that you have one vodka, one rum, one gin, and you know that you're gonna need 3 vodkas, 3 rums, and 3 gins for the night, you mark 2 vodkas, 2 gins, 2 rums. You give the sheet to the manager. The manager will look at it, will look at the bar and determine, okay, you do need that, you need that, you need that, you need that, and then goes downstairs. He then proceeds to go downstairs, picks the bottles, put it in a box, and brings it upstairs. In order for us to determine how many bottles is also there, they keep that sheet downstairs. They make a copy and take it upstairs to the manager's office. That sheet is taken upstairs. The original is put in a little time sheet downstairs in the liquor shack. So that way on Monday, every bottle that was taken out during that whole week, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on Monday morning afternoon, there's another department, another group that is taking care of inventory. And they take all the sheets from all that, and they count all the alcohol here with the sheets there, and that's how they tally. As far as us during that night, we don't throw away our bottles. After we finish our liquor, beer bottles, we do dispense because we count them by cases. But as far as alcohol, because we count them, we rate them as 10. When it's empty, we don't just throw it away. We put it on the side on the box. So at the end of the day, we know how many was taken out. So if we see a bottle of Grey Goose, a bottle of Kettle, it's 2 different vodkas, but we have to determine it. We see those bottles still there. Even if it's broken and by some reason we put it down and we break it, we still got to keep it there in that box so we don't throw it away. So at the end of the night, we tally off.
Okay. When you say it's put in the box, it's a box behind the bar, is that correct?
Yes.
And the persons that have access to that box are not the patrons, the customers, or the members, but only the employees, like the bartender and the servers, correct?
Yes, because as soon as we put the box there and there's kind of like a couple of bottles there, if it's in our way, we have to keep our footwork clear.
Yeah, so you get in and out.
So the bar back, which is his job, he takes those boxes of bottles and he puts his in our service station.
Okay, just one last question on this. Do you have any personal knowledge as to whether or not an inventory run was made that morning, that Monday, for the bar in the foundation room to determine whether or not a bottle of tequila was missing?
Objection, hearsay, based on this last answer, it's a different group that does this.
Do you have any personal knowledge, not based on what you were told? Would you have any way of knowing?
The only thing that I know is that every Monday they do the inventories. As far as
whether a bottle of tequila is missing or not, you don't personally know?
No.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You indicated that the young lady with the short blonde hair, you saw her leave, and it was your impression that she just didn't want to be in the room. She just wanted to go home. Is that correct?
Yes.
She appeared to be tired?
No, not tired.
Okay. But did want to go home?
Yes.
Okay. And one other area, as I understand it, you said that at some point Ms. Clarkson apologized to Mr. Spector, introduced herself and said, "My name is Lana," and she and Mr. Spector shook hands. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was very friendly, wasn't it?
She was very respectful.
It was nice, right?
Yeah, she's
Okay.
always nice.
And then she led Mr. Spector and his guest into the Buddha room. Is that?
She stood by the door. She just apologized, introduced herself, and Phil Spector just shook her hand and acknowledged it and kept on walking.
Okay. And you also indicated at some point earlier in that evening, you exchanged greetings with Mr. Spector. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was very friendly on your part and on his part, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You were pleased to see him, and it seemed to you that he was pleased to see you.
Yes.
Okay. Court's indulgence for a moment.
All right.
Mr. Lana, just one other question. When Mr. Spector shook your hand and he shook Lana's hand, he shook with his right hand, isn't that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Thank you. Redirect.
No, thank you. All right.
Thank you. Subject to recall, sir, you're excused. Thank you very much for being here. You'll not have to discuss your testimony with anyone except the attorneys in the case. Thank you very much.
Detective Tomlin, tell us very briefly what you do for a living, sir.
I'm a deputy sheriff for the County of Los Angeles, assigned to Homicide Bureau.
And are you one of the handling detectives of the case that's now before the bench?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention very narrowly to an interview that I believe you conducted on February 12th, 2003 at about 6:30 in the afternoon. Remember that person?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Quadra a series of questions concerning his memories about the occurred very late 2003, early morning hours of February.
Stop it. Why are you buffering? Knock it off. Aw,
3rd,
Nancy,
2000.
thank you. Oh, sweet.
2003.
Yes.
Where did you meet with Mr. Quadra?
The interview was conducted at Compton Sheriff Station in one of their offices.
Did you ask him to join you there?
Yes.
And did he do so voluntarily?
Yes.
Did you explain to Mr. Quadra wanted to find out what events were concerning the date and time that I just talked about?
Yes.
All right. Did you ask Mr. Quadra if he saw Mr. Phil Spector come into Dan Tana's either the evening hours of February 2nd or the early morning hours of February 3rd, 2003?
Yes, I did.
What did Mr. Quadra explain to you at that time?
Mr. Quadra said he recalls seeing Mr. Spector enter with a blonde.
Your Honor, excuse me, I'm going to object. This is not the purpose for which it's offered at bench.
Well, it's laying the foundation to get the purpose, and I'll allow it. So the objection is overruled.
Thank you. Go ahead.
He saw him enter with a blonde female approximately 12:30 to 12:45 on February 3rd, the early morning of February 3rd.
I guess I should ask you, I think we probably all know this, but what did Mr. Quadra say his job was?
He was a waiter, and he had been a waiter at Dan Tana's for approximately 4 years.
Did you ask Mr. Quadra whether or not he saw where Philip Spector and his female companion were seated?
Your Honor, I'm going to object again. It's not really the purpose for which it was offered.
My ruling stands for the reason I'm allowing it. All right, you may proceed.
Yes, he said he was placed at table number 4.
All right. What did Mr. Quadra say his first comments to Mr. Spector were?
He asked if he wanted anything to drink.
What was Mr. Spector's reply? Or was the words, or was the phrase Navy grog used by Mr. Quadra, or did you supply that phrase?
Mr. Quadra told me
And
that.
what did Mr. Quadra say his response was to Mr. Spector when Mr. Spector ordered a, quote, Navy grog?
Object on the basis of which this was offered.
The objection is overruled.
He said that he was not familiar with that drink and that he would go over to the bartender and ask him if he was familiar with it.
Did Mr. Quadra say that he in fact did ask a bartender?
Yes, he said he asked Craig
The
Suker.
response he got from Mr. Suker.
Mr. Suker also said that he was unfamiliar with that type of drink.
Did Mr. Quadra tell you what he did, Mr. Quadra did, after this exchange with Craig Suker?
Yes, at that point, Mr. Quadra said he went back into the, he asked Mr. Spector if he would like anything to eat. Mr. Spector ordered 2 chopped salads, went into the kitchen area and prepared the salads.
Yes. I think it's all being brought in, not for the purpose for which it was stated in the bench.
First of all, I disagree with the majority. Part that doesn't qualify under that, it gives meaning and context to the part that certainly would qualify as inconsistent statements. The objection is overruled.
May I continue?
You may.
Thank you. Detective, after Mr. indicated that he said he made the chopped salads or he just went back to the kitchen?
No, he said that he went back to the kitchen and personally prepared the salads.
Did you ask Mr. Quadra whether or not he made any other contact with Mr. Spector at his table after making these chopped salads?
Yes, after preparing the salads, he returned to the table to give it to him.
Did you ask Mr. Quadra what, if anything, he noticed on Mr. Spector's table at that time?
Yes. He said he noticed a blended yellow alcoholic beverage in front of Mr. Spector. Yes, he did.
Did he say what kind of alcoholic beverage this was?
He said he did not know what the drink was, but he knew it was an alcoholic beverage.
Did you ask Mr. Quadra whether or not he noticed a second alcoholic beverage being served or being on the table of Mr. Spector during the course of the evening?
Actually, he said yes. When Mr. Spector ordered a second drink, he told the bartender, Mr. Quadra said he doesn't recall exactly what the drink was called, and he doesn't recall how the drink got back to the table, but somebody brought the drink back, and it was the same type as the first drink that was ordered earlier that evening.
Did you ask Mr. Quadra whether or not he had seen Philip Spector ever drink alcohol in his presence, in Mr. Quadra's presence, in Dantana's previous to this night?
Objection, that goes far beyond.
I don't believe that question was asked of Mr. Quadra.
Your Honor, I believe it was, my memory at least is, of the transcript, it was asked, and he said he did not recall.
Let me see.
And if I'm mistaken about that, I'll withdraw the question.
Okay, let me take a look.
That was limited to cross.
Okay. Okay. While I'm doing that, just a moment, the documents we were speaking about, found them. Counsel, you want to go take a look? These are the documents. Here you go. You may. Yeah. You were right. I was partially right. We can all have victory. You know what? In any event, rather than take the time, this witness, part of the cross-examination is going to be deferred, so we can take it up at a later time, and you can
I have no
reopen
problem
it.
with that, Your Honor.
All right.
Basically, I'm finished with mine.
Thank you. Nomination?
Thank you.
Is there anything to ask?
Yes,
Okay.
I ask for an extension as court knows from the material.
I know.
I do have it on the screen here on the laptop, so if I may be permitted to cross from here.
Of course.
Okay. Mr. Tomlin, you're one of the case agents in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
You work as in tandem with Detective Lilyfield and Detective Forman, is that correct?
Detective Forman, yes.
You signed this case since 3/03, is that right?
Yes.
Over 4 years, correct?
Yes.
This has been on your caseload, right?
Excuse me?
It's been on your caseload, correct, sir?
Yes.
You just told us about an interview that you had on February 12th at 6 a.m. Compton Sheriff Station in one of the rooms there, is that right? So this meeting, this
Okay, hold up a minute. Tilly Bean, who passed away? I'm sad now. Who did you lose? I'm so sorry. I'm glad I can help though, but that makes me sad. The recipe that I looked up for a Navy grog is different than they put up the recipe. When was it, guys? Was it yesterday? They put up the recipe for a Navy grog. It's 3 different kinds of rum. It's lime grog mix, which is a Trader Vic's specialty. Rock candy syrup. Did I say lemon juice or lime juice? That's why I said that drink has got to be sour as heck. Because you got lime juice and rock candy syrup. And rock candy is just sugar. So I imagine rock candy syrup is just sugar. Like liquid sugar. And lime juice and 3 kinds of rum. And the grog mix, whatever is in grog mix. It sounds nasty. Oh, it sounds nasty. The one that I looked up it was like 3 types of rum with a splash of soda. It was basically straight rum. But I guess the Trader Vic's version has other stuff in it. Then, nasty. Oh, Jeff. Okay. Duh. Legal vices. Okay. Legal vices. I thought you meant like someone in your family. Lady drink masquerades. Masquerading as a manly drink. Yeah. Yeah, legal vices. Oh, you listen to legal vices in the morning. Okay. I didn't listen to him on a regular basis. I would just like, if he was talking about something that I was interested in, I would watch him. Yeah, that was sad. I did did I do a video or just do a post? I can't remember. About helping him to get his plaque. Because I felt so bad that he didn't get his plaque before he died. I cried. I cried so hard. We lost him and Michael Rivers at the days from each other. It was so sad. So sad. Oh my God. Oh, he did. Oh, I didn't see that video. What is bitters? Yeah, you used to be a bartender. Well, I'm assuming bitters is bitter. I mean, the taste is bitter. What the heck is bitters? I don't even know what that is. Uh, a foo-foo drink. My my mom was a bartender. That's how she met my dad. My dad was a cop. So like he was a highway patrol in Florida, and they don't do, I mean, they do traffic. Vice baby. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. The way my parents met, like, I don't know specifics, but my mom was a bartender in the Keys. And my mom, like, she was in her later years. So like anti-alcohol, it's insane. I cannot imagine my mom being a bartender. But that's how she met my dad. He was Florida Highway Patrol, and they in our state, Highway Patrol does highway stuff, and they assist other law enforcement where needed. They don't investigate like murders and stuff like that, like some state police do. And I don't know. My dad's not a drink. He wasn't a drinker. Maybe when he was younger, he was. I don't know. I don't know if he was at the bar because of, in his line of work, or if he was recreationally there. Because, like I said, both my parents in their later years, they weren't drinkers. But I just think it's crazy that they met because my mom was a bartender, because they weren't like that when I was around. But she loved tequila sunrises, and anytime she threw a party, my mom is like me, like big time social anxiety. Like, she doesn't go out, or when she was alive, she didn't go out, she didn't do things, she always stayed at home. But she loved to throw parties. When I was little, we had dinner parties with my dad. It's usually with my dad's colleagues, like his trooper. She would make friends with the troopers that he worked with and their wives, and she would have dinner parties like with other couples. And so she'd have dinner parties, and then she'd have a big Christmas party once a year. And the troopers that weren't working, they would come, them and their families, they would come to our Christmas party. She made a big punch bowl full of tequila sunrise for every party. And before she put, I don't even know what's in it, before she put the alcohol in it, no, I think she did put the alcohol in it first, but I was only allowed to have one glass. Maybe she gave me a glass before and then like a small little taste after. I don't remember. I was a teenager. I don't remember exactly, but I remember loving it. And so then when I got drinking age, that was the first drink that I ever ordered for myself, because I knew what it was and I knew what it tasted like. And then I went on to like other drinks I'd heard of, like Sex on the Beach. And then somebody told me to order an amaretto sour. And then that became my favorite. And that's like everywhere I went, it was like amaretto sour. And then my brother's high school had a reunion in the Keys. And it wasn't like just for 1 year. It was like the whole school reunion thing. So even though my dad didn't go to high school down there, I didn't go to high school down there, we all went to it. I don't know why we all went to it, but we all went to it. And I was old enough to order my own. In fact, I ordered it, but my brother paid for it. And then, so then my dad sees me drinking. Now, I'm legal age now, but my dad sees me drinking and he goes, "What are you drinking?" I'm like, "Randy bought it for me." I blame my brother. Randy did it. And he goes, I never heard of an amaretto sour before. I didn't do it. Grown, still blaming my brother. Tequila, orange juice, and grenadine. It gets poured down the side, only one side of the glass. Well, then how did she make a punch bowl full of it? She made a punch bowl of it. I'm telling you, Carla, it was a huge punch bowl full of it. I've got to find that unboxing video. Margaritas are good. We went to see, I feel good today, so I'm telling stories. We need to get back to the trial. Went to no, it had grenadine in it. It was red. Went to Universal Studios back when they had the Back to the Future ride, and that was before I was a real fan of roller coasters. It's not a roller coaster, it was a simulated roller coaster. Now they have the Simpsons ride there, and it's basically the same ride. It's a simulated roller coaster, and that thing just jerks you all over the place. And so we stopped and got me and my cousin. I guess I don't know. So me and my cousin, I'm like, okay, before we get on this ride, I need a margarita. So we stopped, and my cousin's not a drinker either. So we stopped at one of the places in Universal that sells alcohol. We got a margarita, and that was like the best margarita I ever had. And I was like, Fawn, this is a good margarita. Tip the man. She never had one before. I'm like, this is so good. This is like the best margarita I've ever had. And she's like, okay, whatever you say. It made the ride so much better.
Inside the station, right?
Yes,
Station's a two-story structure, partly brick on the outside, parking lot in the backyard, right?
yes,
Okay. And when you met with Mr. Quadra in this room, this was a small interview room?
no, actually, I believe it was the captain's office
Okay,
of the
that's
station.
That's upstairs on the second floor, isn't it?
Yes,
In the back, right?
yes,
Who was in the room when you conducted this interview? You were, correct?
yes, and also my partner, Paul Fournier, Four-Nier.
Okay, the two of you and Mr. Quadra, correct?
Yes,
Mr. Quadra, he didn't, right?
yes.
And as you indicated, Mr.
Let me clarify, we discussed where he felt more comfortable.
Sir, all I'm asking is, did he show up voluntarily?
He had the right to explain his answer and how this took place.
And he was given several options. He lived in that area. I cannot recall if we
The
said,
question is, did he show up voluntarily? That's all I'm asking.
yes.
You didn't have a warrant for him, did you?
Objection, relevance. And that
This has become, it's getting off track.
Let me ask you this. You were in the police, in the sheriff's station. How long did you speak with Mr. Quadra?
I would say approximately 30 minutes.
And during that, did you?
I don't believe I tape recorded this conversation now.
Mr. Fournier, your partner, Paul Fournier, he tape recorded this conversation, didn't he?
I don't believe this conversation was recorded.
So it was an unrecorded conversation, is what you're telling us?
The best of my recollection right now, yes, I'm saying it was unrecorded.
You have the court's indulgence for a moment, sir. In your investigation over the past 4 years of this case, you've spoken to a number of individuals who were considered by you as a potential witness, correct?
Yes,
Some of those you tape recorded, didn't you?
yes.
If the court will just indulge me to run through it, I may be able to avoid having him come back for this particular subject. Quadra also told you that he brought over a Diet Pepsi and a Pepsi soda to Mr. Spector's table, isn't that correct?
Yes,
And that Mr. Spector was in the companionship of a female, correct?
yes,
In February of '03, you were working for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, is that right?
yes,
And you have worked in conjunction with the District Attorney's Office on this case since then, is that a fair statement?
yes,
And he also told you that Mr. Spector was in very good spirits that night and was quite talkative, correct?
yes.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
And you may have some further cross at a later time on this issue. Certainly.
I think we're fine.
All right, I will indicate I have found the disputed piece of testimony. It's contained on page 2713. And the witness did indicate, didn't recall about prior alcoholic use. I'll go into it if you wish.
I have that one question.
Can that be over my objection since I did not ask it on cross or recross?
Yes, I don't believe that's the determining factor, but you're correct as to that.
Did you ask whether or not Manuel Quadra had ever seen Mr. Spector drink alcohol before this occasion on the early morning hours of February 3rd, 2003?
Yes, I did.
And what was his response?
He said he had seen Mr. Spector approximately 30 times and had personally served him on 3 occasions, and never had he ever seen him drink alcohol before that night.
And I have one more question. This is just for cross-examination. I'm sorry, for redirect examination based on a cross. Did you take notes of your interview?
Yes, I did.
Did you write a report?
Yes, I did.
Did you review those notes and report before coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Recross?
I'm gonna need a moment here.
That's fine. Juror number 6, you were going to get us some emails. Have you ever had a chance to do that? You remember?
Sorry?
You were going to bring us some emails or look for some emails?
Oh, yeah. I've got them.
Okay, well, during a break or something, we can get those. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Tomlin, Mr. Quadra told you that he did not serve Mr. Spector the alcoholic beverages that you described as a blended yellow-colored alcoholic beverage, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, Mr. Quadra never told you whether or not how he even knew it was a yellow blended colored alcoholic beverage. It's just his vision of what he saw there, correct? The image.
Repeat that, please.
Sure. He never told you how he knew this was an alcoholic beverage, correct? He just described what appeared to be a blended yellow colored alcoholic beverage, correct? He didn't tell you what he based it on.
Like he just stated that it was a yellow, blended yellow alcoholic beverage.
And he did not tell you that he made that beverage for that evening, did he?
No,
He also indicated to you, did he, that Mr. Spector did not appear drunk that night, isn't that right?
correct.
He also told you he didn't take the order for those drinks, isn't that right?
I believe he told me the second one, he did take the order. And that's when he said that, not the first one.
The first one.
The first one, no, he did not take the order.
Okay. He told you that he took the order for the second one?
Yes.
Where in your report does it say that he told you that he took the order for the second one?
It doesn't indicate that.
It's not in your report, is it?
No,
And it's not on tape, because there is no tape, right?
correct.
Thank you. Thank you, redirect.
Nothing further.
All right, subject to recall, you're excused. Thank you for being here. Don't discuss your testimony with anyone except counsel. Do you have another witness?
We do, Your Honor. Adriana D'Souza.
All right.
Spell your name for the record.
Let's say Adriano de Souza, ADRIANO DESOUZA.
Thank you, sir. If you'll be seated, if you sit back in the chair, hold the microphone back underneath your chin. You won't have to lean forward and we can hear you. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. D'Souza, how are you this afternoon?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I want to draw your attention specifically back to February 2nd, 2003. Do you have that date in mind?
Yes,
Tell me what you were doing in the evening hours of February 2nd, 2003.
you know the specific hour we're talking about?
What were you tasked to do?
Yeah. Do you know the specific hour we're talking about was the answer? Sir, if you pull that microphone all the way back, right, exactly. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Close to the 7 o'clock hour in the evening.
Okay, at 6:45, I arrived at Mr. Spector's house.
Stop there. All right. Tell us specifically how it is that you came to have any relationship with Mr. Spector.
I was his private driver.
What does it mean, private driver?
I was driving him around at night. If he needs me, he just like call me and set up like not an appointment, but I'm driving him around.
Were you doing that for a living? Car, or did you use Mr. Spector's car?
No, his car.
Now, do you see Mr. Spector in the courtroom as you sit here right now?
Yes.
Where is he seated and what is he wearing?
He's wearing like a gray suit with a blue long sleeve shirt.
Indicating Mr. Spector for the record.
Thank you. Were you his full-time driver, Mr. D'Souza?
No,
Who was?
I think Dylan.
Is that Dylan Keene?
I don't know his last name.
You just knew him as Dylan?
Yes.
How did you know Dylan?
At that time, I was working the grill on the alley. I was valet parking,
How long had you been working at the grill as a valet parker?
probably 2 years.
2 years, and we're talking about up to the time of February
Yes.
2003?
Yes,
Okay. Did you meet Dylan through your employment at the grill on the alley?
yes.
And how is it that you came to become a part-time or fill-in driver for Mr. Spector? Whose idea was that?
I talked to him about that. I was working for another two companies, two limousine companies in LA. And
Two limousine companies.
actually was talking to him, and he told me that he needs somebody to cover him.
And did you in fact agree to cover for him when he couldn't drive for Mr. Spector?
Yes.
And what was the agreement? How was it that you came in contact with Mr. Spector? What phone numbers were you given?
When I start, there's no agreement. There's no like contract. He usually call me and ask me if I'm free, like a few hours before or a day before the job.
Who would make that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
First job was I think was Michelle Blaine.
Who did you know Michelle Blaine to be?
At that time, she was Mr. Spector's secretary.
Was all your contact made through Michelle Blaine or through Dylan?
After that was only with her.
All right. So in other words, when you first started driving for Mr. Spector, the first couple of times, Dylan called you?
Yeah, I talked to Dylan and Michelle.
Then after that, Michelle began making the phone calls.
Yes.
Did Mr. Spector, Philip Spector himself, ever pick up the phone and call you?
I know.
So your contact with Spector in driving him was always made through another person, either Dylan or Michelle.
Yes.
How many times on February 2nd, coming up to February 2nd, 2003, how many times would you say?
Around 13 times, 14 times.
And this is over what period of time, Mr. D'Souza?
Could you repeat the question?
This is over what period of time? These 13 or 14 trips or driving jobs, over what period of time?
I think it started in November or December 2002.
2002?
Yeah.
Okay. So for 3.5, 4 months?
Yes.
All right. Who called you on for the job on February 2nd, 2003?
Michelle called me.
When did Michelle call you?
She called me around probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not sure about the time. Around 4 o'clock.
And what did she say?
She asked if I moved drive Mr. Spector at the time.
Were you free?
At that time, I was not free, but I made arrangements to be free.
Why did you make arrangements?
Because I was
Overruled. You may answer.
I was working the grill at that time.
Okay.
I asked my boss to get like a day off.
Did you okay that?
Yes.
Did you make more money driving for Phil Spector than you did at the grill as a valet parker?
Yes.
How much did Mr. Spector pay you to drive for him?
I had to start $30 an hour.
And you when you fill up the tank, would you utilize his credit card or use his account?
Yes, there is a credit card inside the car.
All right. And so you would be responsible for, or would you be responsible for filling up the tank and maintaining the car in the course of driving?
Yes.
But that was all attributable to Mr. Spector's money, not your own, correct?
Yes,
All right.
correct.
Did Michelle tell you on this particular night how long you'd be needed for?
No.
Did you have any idea going into February 2nd, 2003, generally how long Mr. Spector liked you to drive for him when he went out at night?
Between 5 and 10 hours. I didn't know at that time how many hours.
And that was normal?
Yes.
Approximately what time did you arrive at Mr. Spector's house?
6:45 p.m.
And so can we have the one thing? Just a second, I'm trying to fix it. Yeah, exactly. Your Honor, it's not going to be in here, it's going to be in your book. We have a 8.5 by 11 sheet bearing two labeled A and B. The document is entitled 1700 Grand New Alhambra. I'd like to ask as people's next in order. I believe it's 22?
21.
21. Take a look, Mr. D'Souza. You may have to strain your eyes a little bit for photo. What's pictured there?
It's Mr. Spector's house.
All right, that's an aerial view of the house?
Yes,
And is that the correct address, 1700 Grandview?
yes,
Is that in the city of Alhambra?
yes.
When you arrived at the house that night, is there any kind of gate or any kind of block to keep you from getting onto the property?
Yes, there is a big gate.
Explain that for us. What does it look like?
It's a black gate, like a tall gate. The only way to get in the house is to open the gate, and the way to contact somebody inside the house is we have to press like the bell,
All right.
bell ring outside.
Did you have your own car with you that night to get over to the Alhambra residence?
Yes.
By the way, did you know what Mr. Spector called that residence? The name that it was known by?
Castle, I think.
Okay, he called it the castle?
Yes.
What was the make and model of your car that you used to drive over there?
It's a Crown Vic.
Okay.
It's a Crown Victoria.
What color?
It's red.
When you approached that gate, how did you physically get in and get through it?
I had to ring the bell.
Is it just a push button
Yeah, just a push button.
and you just reach through the driver's window?
Yeah, sometimes the people ask me, there's like cameras outside, and sometimes the people ask me who is it, or at that time, I just ring the bell and the gate open.
All right, so nobody came through the intercom system and said anything to you?
No, nobody.
Is there a camera, some kind of a security camera close to that bell?
I think so.
Did you look at it?
No, not at that time.
All right. Had you driven your car to Mr. Spector's residence in the past?
Yes,
So he was aware of what color car, what make and model car you drove?
yes,
All
I
right.
think so.
So was it a surprise for you that the gate opened and you were just allowed access?
No,
Once you got onto the property, where did you drive?
I usually park my car close to the garage. It's another building outside of his house.
All right.
It's another building.
Was there any kind of a motor court area?
Yes, it is.
Describe that motor court area. What does it look like and where is it on the property?
It's a large area. There is a fountain outside and a garage on another side. I parked my car like on the side of the house.
Is there an entrance into the house at that adjacent to
Yes,
that
it
motor?
is. I think there is I think it's the back door of the house.
Okay. Do me a favor and try to make sure you hear the end of my sentence before you start speaking.
Okay, sorry.
So there's an entrance to the house, correct?
Yes,
There's a fountain.
in front. Yes,
Okay. Is there a circular drive where you can drive around that fountain?
yes,
And is there a detached garage or another building where there's a garage?
yes.
Taking a look. Taking a look at, this is people's 21 photograph B as in boy, it's just an enlargement. Taking a look at this bottom area down here, does that appear to be the garage area?
Yes,
Is this portion where I'm pointing to the middle of the photograph appear to be the main house, the main complex?
yes,
Although it's somewhat covered by trees, does this area appear to be the motor court where the fountain is?
yes.
Okay. When you drove up to the location, where did you park your car, the red car that you were
I
driving?
park in the side of the house.
All
And
right.
the photograph is in the south. Yeah, in the south of the house.
Okay. Is it this area down here?
Yes,
Okay, so that's where your car was parked, somewhere down in the south portion of the house.
yes.
All right.
Rolls Royce.
What color?
It's white.
All right. Do you know what model that Rolls Royce
I think
is?
it's 64. I'm not sure.
1964.
Yes.
So a classic old Rolls.
Yes.
Did you know what kind of car to look for on this particular occasion?
Yes.
Given the fact that you said it was a new car, according to Michelle.
Yes.
What were you supposed to look for?
It's a Mercedes, a black Mercedes.
So, take a look at, Your Honor, I'd like to mark as people's next in order.
22.
Thank you. This is another 8.5 by 11. And I'm putting it on the overhead as well. It's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with bearing 3 photographs, photograph A, photograph B, and photograph C. Tell me, taking a look at people's 22, do you recognize the car that's depicted in that series of photographs?
Yes.
What car is that?
It's a black Mercedes S430.
Is that the Mercedes S430 that you drove that night?
Yes.
Is that the Mercedes that you that was described to you by Michelle Blaine?
Yes.
Where did you find that car when you walked over to the garage?
I found that car in the first garage.
How did you know how to get in the garage?
There is a button outside. Just press the button and the garage open.
All right. So once you're on the property, you had pretty free access to the garage.
Yes.
Once inside the garage, how did you know where to get the keys?
The keys were inside.
Inside what?
Inside the car.
This was the first time you had driven this car, is that right?
Yes.
This car was brand new.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it didn't even have plates on it, did it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. What did you do after you secured this car?
Sorry, could you repeat?
What did you do after you got in the car? After you got in the car and I assume started it and drove it out of the garage?
Oh, I prepared the car to start the trip.
Okay. And what does that consist of, preparing the car?
I just parked the car in front of the back door and check everything inside if is everything okay.
Okay. When you say you parked it in front of the back door, take a look at photograph A, if you will, and tell me if you recognize that doorway.
Yes. This is the
Your
back door.
I'm sorry, just a second, Mr. D'Souza. For the record, I'm pointing to people's 22, photograph A. There appears to be almost bullseye, dead center of the photograph, just to the top, a dark brown rectangle that appears to be a doorway.
All right.
Can you describe what that door is?
This is the back door of the house.
Okay, that's the entrance and exit into and out of the main complex of the house?
Yes.
And this is, I think you've already told us this, Mr. D'Souza, we're looking at the back of the house, not the front, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get to the other side of the house in just a little while. Did you park the car approximately where it's depicted in photograph A and photograph B?
Yes, in the same position.
Same position?
Yes.
All right. And you said you prepared the car for the trip. What kind of preparation was necessary?
I don't know if I had to clean the car or if I already cleaned or I checked the gas.
Okay. This particular car, brand new, I'm assuming you didn't clean it much?
No.
Okay. What about the gas?
Was okay in gas.
Okay. How long did you wait out there for Mr. Spector?
Probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
As you were waiting, did you make any kind of phone call to inside the residence or anything like that to
No.
tell Mr. Spector that you were there?
Sorry, no.
During the course of the time that you drove for Mr. Spector, these several months and these multiple times, did you ever come to know whether or not Mr. Spector lived with anybody else in the house or if he lived alone?
No, leave it alone.
After 5 minutes, when Mr. Spector came out of the residence, what happened?
I was very fine. I opened the car door. Then we left the house.
When you are given the task of driving for Mr. Spector, did you wear any kind of a uniform?
No, just a black suit and a black tie.
Okay. I noticed that you're wearing what appear, unless my eyesight's going bad, that's either very, very dark blue or black suit that you're wearing now.
Yes, black suit.
Was the black suit similar? Okay, and you said you wore a black tie to go with the black suit.
Sorry, black.
In the front next to you or in the back?
No, in the back.
Did he sit in the, and that's in the, up to this point, you drove in the Rolls Royce, correct?
Yes.
In this particular car, where did he sit?
In the back.
Driver's side or passenger? side.
passenger side.
When Mr. Spector came out of the back of D'Souza, did he have anything?
Sorry.
Did he have anything with him,
Case.
like a leather bag or?
He has a leather. It's like a brown, light brown
Okay.
briefcase.
Do you know what was in that bag, or did he show you what was in the bag?
No.
Did you have anything with you? For instance, a cell phone or anything like that?
Yes, I have.
What? What did
I
you have
had
with you?
a laptop, snacks, water. That's it.
Okay. What was the laptop for?
I usually work on a laptop, watching movies, or I like to do web page and things like that.
Okay. You indicated DVD. Was that for the laptop, the DVD and the laptop movie?
Yes.
Snack, water as well.
Yes.
Is that normal for you during the course of a driving a job like this to take snacks or water?
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah, because I never know when I have time to go to any place to eat, and that's the way that I keep this kind of stuff inside the car.
When you were asked to drive for Mr. Spector, were you expected to be on call every single moment that employed by him? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. Was that the expectation?
Yes.
In other words, anytime you wanted to go somewhere, you had to be available to go.
Yes.
So you didn't stop at a restaurant and go eat or something?
I don't go to the rest. I wait in the car or outside the car.
Is there a lot of waiting to be had in a job like this?
Yes.
Once you get to a location, do you have any idea how long Mr. Spector might spend in a restaurant or in a club?
No.
Okay, and you're expecting to wait the entire time so that when in fact it's out, you're there. Do you remember when Mr. Spector came out of that back door that you've described for the jurors in photograph A on People's 22, what he was wearing?
Yes.
What was he wearing?
It was black pants, black shirt, and like a kind of white or beige suit.
When you say suit, do you mean suit jacket?
Yes, suit jacket.
All right. Beige, meaning light colored, white, cream,
Yes.
but black pants.
Yes.
Do you remember what color shirt he was wearing?
Black.
All right. What was the first thing that Mr. Spector told you after he got in the car that night?
He told me to go to Studio City.
Did you know where in Studio City he wanted to go at that time?
Yes, I drove him like a couple of times to the same place.
Where was that?
Well, I think it was his friend's house.
Do you remember the first name?
I think it's Romy.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
You think it's Rami?
Yes.
Describe this friend.
I'm not good with describe people, but it's like a.
Male or female?
It's like I think it's a blonde hair.
Okay. Older than you or younger than you?
Older.
All right. I don't want you to give me the address, but generally speaking, where did you go to meet Mr. Spector's friend?
I can tell the streets or.
No. I don't want to know exact streets. I don't want to know cross streets. I want to maintain a little bit of privacy for everybody in the case. I just want to know generally the area of the city. Was it in Studio City per se?
Yes.
Okay. Did you in fact go over to a residence in Studio City?
Yes.
And what happened once you were at the residence?
I parked the car. I opened the door for him. He got out the car and he went inside us.
Is it normal for you, Mr. D'Souza, during a job like this, when you arrive at a location, will you step out of the car, go to the back, and open the door for Mr. Spector and any guests may have?
Yes, normal.
That's part of the job as a private driver?
Yes.
Sort of full limousine service?
Yes.
All right. Once inside the house, well, let me ask you this. I'm going to show you a map. Again, don't give me these specific addresses, but I want to see if you recognize the general areas in this map. I believe this is people 9 for identification. You may or may not have seen, have you seen this map before, Mr. D'Souza?
Yes.
Okay, take just a second and familiarize yourself what's on the map. Let me give you about a second so you can familiarize yourself and I'll ask you a question. You have a chance to look at it?
Yes.
All right, do you know location for that map?
Yes.
Let's start at the right-hand side where it says 100 Grandview. What is that pointer pointing at?
It's Mr. Spector's home.
Mr. Space?
House.
Okay. And then moving to the left, do you notice a couple of places that appear to be either in Beverly Hills or Hollywood or West Hollywood, that area?
Yes.
All right. It may not be depicted on this particular map, so I'm not going to ask you to describe it. How long did Mr. Spector stay in the house, in the residence, before he and his guest came out?
Probably 5 minutes.
Once he and his guest, Romy, came out, how long, what did Mr. Spector tell you he wanted to do?
He told me that he wants to go to the grill.
All right, come to that location.
Yes.
And how long do you estimate it took to get to the grill?
From Studio City,
Stupid StreamYard. I don't know why it does that. It just decides that we all need to be deaf for a minute. I don't.
no.
Okay. She was your girl.
Come on, StreamYard. Behave yourself.
At the time.
Yes.
Is she from Brazil also?
Yes.
All right.
Now, why don't we go ahead and take about a recess at this point? Ladies
Sure,
and
yeah.
gentlemen, keep in mind the commission. If you go ahead and get those emails. So, we're going to break. All right. Back on the record, all parties, choose an alternate, and the president is here for you. May.
Yes.
Mr. D'Souza, before we took the break, you were just explaining that you were here studying English, correct?
Yes.
Was once you got here, and you'd been here about 4 years, is that right?
Yes.
Once you got to this, well, let me ask it this way. When you got to America, to Los Angeles, was this the first time you had ever studied English?
No.
When did you first start studying English?
We start early when we are young in Brazil.
Where did you go to school?
English is like a regular subject in the schools in Brazil.
Did you go to a private school?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Did you go to university?
Yes.
What did you study at university?
Computer science.
Did you get a degree?
Yes.
What kind of degree?
It's a bachelor degree in computer science.
Bachelor degree in computer science.
Did you study in university?
Yes.
Why?
He's a limo driver.
Be-
So why does
Oh,
it matter?
overruled.
Go ahead.
because all languages that we have to study are in English.
Describe that. In other words, in computer science, do you write programs in particular computer language?
Yes.
COBOL,
Yes.
C language,
Yes.
C++?
Yes.
Are all of those written in English?
Yes.
After university, did you do any military time?
During the school, yeah.
During school?
Yes.
How long were you in the military?
Around 9 years.
What was your highest rank achieved?
First lieutenant.
That's an officer, correct?
Yes.
During the time that you were in the military, did you continue to study English?
Yes.
Through what means?
I was planning to come here.
Were you tutored?
Sorry.
Were you tutored? Did you have a private teacher?
Yes.
For how long?
Around 1 year and a half.
And what year was that? Or what years were those?
97, 98.
And
Yeah, 97, 98.
and when did you get to this country?
He's got a thick accent, but his English is excellent.
Sorry.
When did you get to this country?
1999.
When did you start studying English here?
I think it was end of 1999.
You told us that you had many conversations with the defendant, correct?
Yes, Phil.
During the course of driving him over these 13 or 14 times, you had to speak to Mr. Spector, and he had to
Yes.
speak to you, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever have any problems understanding anything he was saying?
Yes.
Describe that.
When he was drunk. Yes.
Other than when he was drunk, did you ever have any problems understanding it?
No.
What was it about when Mr. Spector was drunk that made it difficult to understand him?
Because as Biggin says, when you're drunk, you talk in all vowels.
Sometimes he was saying like, it's not. It was really difficult to understand what he wants at that time.
When in fact he was drinking, did he tend to mumble?
I'll sustain the objection.
Describe what was difficult to understand, when it was difficult to understand Mr. Spector when he was drunk or drinking.
If he wants to go to someplace else and he was trying to describe the place or say the name of the place, sometimes I could not understand.
Okay. Did you ask him to repeat himself?
Yes.
And ultimately, could you understand what he was saying?
Oh, yes.
Did you ever not get someplace that you wanted to go because you couldn't understand him?
No.
You indicated that you got to the grill somewhere 8 o'clock. Is that right?
So 8 o'clock, 8:15.
What did Mr. Spector and Ms. Davis do, or Rami? What did Mr. Spector and Rami do once you got to the grill and you dropped him off?
They went inside the restaurant and around 2 hours,
And what did you do while you were waiting?
I was outside talking to friends.
Where did you park the car?
I parked in the valet zone.
While they were inside the restaurant, did you ever have to go get gas or fill up the tank?
No, that I remember, no.
All right. About how long were you waiting for them before they came back out?
Around 2 hours.
So they would have come back out 10-ish or a little after 10.
Yes.
What happened once Mr. Spector and Romy came back out of the grill?
They got in the car and he told me to go back to Studio City.
At that time, did you notice whether or not Mr. Spector appeared to be intoxicated?
No, not that time.
Did you drop Romy back off at Studio City?
Yes.
About what time did you get there?
10:45, probably 10:40.
After you dropped off Romy at Studio City, did Mr. Spector tell you where he wanted to go next?
Yes.
What did he say?
He told me to go back to the grill.
Did you in fact drive back to the grill?
Yes.
About what time did you get there?
Around 11:10.
What happened once you went back to the grill?
There was a lady waiting for him outside.
Had you ever met that lady before?
Yes.
Who was that?
It was Kathy, Miss Kathy.
And what did Miss Kathy look like?
She's blonde. She's a female.
Long hair, short hair?
Short.
All right. Did Kathy get into the car with you and Mr. Spector?
Yes.
And what happened after that?
Mr. Spector told me to go to Trader Vic's.
Take a look at the map that has previously been marked, I believe, as People's 9, and tell me, do you see where it says on the left side of the map, the grill in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
Is that pointing to approximately where the grill is on the alley?
Yes.
And do you see where there's a pointer pointing toward Trader Vic's in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
All right. Is that approximately where Trader Vic's is?
Yes.
So it's relatively close to the grill?
Oh, yeah.
How long did it take you to get from the grill to Trader Vic's?
Less than 5 minutes.
What happened once you got to Trader Vic's?
Both went inside the restaurant.
Both Mr. Spector and Kathy?
Yes.
What did you do while they went inside the restaurant?
1 hour, probably.
Did they eventually come back out?
Oh, yes.
And what?
I think he invited her to go to the tennis.
Did he make this invitation in the car, or do you remember?
I remember that he said something inside the car.
Something to her?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the first few words of that.
The recorder will be back.
I remember that he said something inside the car.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Something to her or something to you?
To her.
All right. At that time, did you notice whether or not Mr. Spector appeared to be drunk or intoxicated?
No.
I may have asked it in a bad way. Let me ask that question again.
Excuse me, Your Honor. He asked it in a good way, and it was answered.
The objection, if that's an objection, is overruled. You may proceed.
Thank you. Let me try that again. I'm not sure if I asked if you remembered, but let me just take that word out. At that time, was it your impression that Mr. Spector was drunk or not?
I cannot say that he was drunk.
Okay.
But he was not like and the same person that when we start the job, like 7 o'clock at night.
Did you notice a difference in his behavior by the time he came out of Trader?
Just like a walk different, but
Explain to the jurors what you mean by he was walking different.
difficult to walk. Like, but it was not like walking like before.
All right. Did you notice any odor of alcohol at that time?
No.
Once you were back inside, or once Mr. Spector and Kathy were back inside the car, where did you guys go at that point?
We had to return to a street close to the grill.
Why?
Because Miss Kathy, I think, parked her car like close to the grill.
Did you go back over there so she could pick up her car?
Yes.
And what happened after she picked her car up?
We had to follow her to her house.
Do you remember what kind of car she had?
Yes, I think was Was a silver Volkswagen Jetta, I think.
Did you know cars relatively well at that time?
Yes,
Why?
I was working in a valet parking. I was driving all kind of cars.
Okay. Once you dropped off Kathy at her car, what did you and Mr. Spector do after that?
We had to follow her to her house.
And where did you follow her to? I do not want a street address. I don't want any cross streets. Just give me an area of town.
We went close to House of Blues, I think.
Okay. And what happened once you got close to the House of Blues?
After she parked her car, I think she joined us again.
So she dropped off her car
Yes,
and then got in the Mercedes.
yes.
And where did you guys go after that?
We went to Dan Tennis.
Take a look on the map and tell me if you see where the words Dantana's in West Hollywood is.
Yes,
Is that pointing to approximately where that restaurant is located?
yes.
How long did it take you, after leaving Trader Vic's, how long did it take you, Mr. D'Souza, to drop the car off close to House of Blues and then make your way back over to Dantana's?
Between 20 and 30 minutes.
So approximately, if you can give us an idea, about what time do you remember getting to Dantana's?
12:40.
So now that's 12:40 a.m., right?
Yes.
On
Right.
February 3rd now.
Yes.
What happened once you and Miss Kathy and Philip Spector arrived at Dantana's?
We both went inside.
And what did you do?
I had to wait outside.
How long were you waiting outside for Mr. Spector and Kathy to come back out?
Probably 40 minutes.
Before, I'm going to take you back just a second to when Philip Spector and Kathy came out of Trader Vic's and she sat in the back of the car. Do you remember Mr. Spector inviting her to go to Dantana's at that time?
You mean when they left Trader Vic's or?
Correct. Once
Yes.
before Kathy dropped off her car and all that, when she's in the back of the Mercedes after Trader Vic's, do you remember Mr. Spector inviting Kathy, hey, let's go over to Dantana's?
Yes.
Do you remember I'm sorry?
He said something. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what her response was?
I think she didn't want to go. I think she was tired.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that's a conclusion.
It depends on what he's basing because the answer has some ambiguity in it. What makes you say that, sir? Did it something she said, something?
Yes, she said something.
All right, then the objection is overruled. You may proceed.
Could we get the, what she said, and we can draw our own conclusion?
Yes, I assumed it was going to be the next question. I didn't want to ask it. I was going to let the district attorney ask it. You may proceed.
What'd she say?
She said that she was tired.
It's brilliant lawyer right there. That she was tired?
Yes,
All right. Did she say this to Mr. Spector?
yes.
And do you remember what his response was, if anything?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now let's catch back up. We're at Dantana's now, all right? When Mr. Spector and Kathy came out of Dantana's, you said about 40 minutes had passed, correct?
Yes.
What, if anything, happened once you saw Mr. Spector and Kathy Sullivan come out of Dantana's?
Yeah, there were like two guys outside of the antennas, and
What?
one of those guys told something to Mr. Spector.
All right, I'm going to slow you down for just a second. You said that you waited about 40 minutes or so while Mr. Spector and Kathy were inside, correct?
Yes,
Where were you parked during this time?
almost in front of the door of the restaurant.
Were you seated inside the car or were you waiting outside the car?
At that time, I was inside.
When Mr. Spector came out of the restaurant with Kathy, did you step out of the car?
Oh, yes.
Did you notice anything about Mr. Spector at that time?
Yes.
What?
Like I said, he was a little bit different. The guys one of
Excuse me, it's no longer responsible.
You may ask your next question.
Thank Did you notice any interaction, anything happened between him and anybody else standing outside?
yes.
What happened?
Like I said, there were two guys outside, and one of the guys told something to him, and he didn't like.
Do you know what was said by this person? Did you hear that? What makes you think that Mr. Spector didn't like it?
Because I opened his door, and he got stuck in the door, and he was looking to this guy, and he looks like upset.
When you say he got stuck in the door, what do you mean?
He was like just stopped at the door. He didn't want to get in the car. Okay, and he was like looking for this guy. Like,
All right. You opened the back door, correct?
yes,
And instead of stepping into the back seat, Mr. Spector just stood there?
yes.
And who was he looking at?
He was looking for this guy and at the door of the antennas,
And how close was Mr. Spector standing to this guy?
around 20, 30 feet. I'm not sure.
So if you're Mr. Spector and I'm this other person, can you put me someplace in the courtroom that would be about the same distance away?
Could be the computer.
This
This computer, I'm not
That's
sure.
about 11 feet.
Yeah.
Thank
11.
Did Mr. Spector appear to be staring at this person?
Could you repeat that?
Sure. Did he appear to be looking at the other guy?
Oh, yes.
Describe the look on his face.
He was mad. He was completely mad. He was upset, for sure.
Did he say anything to the guy?
No.
Just looked at him?
Yes.
At some point, did Mr. Spector go ahead and get into the back seat of the car?
Yes.
How long would you say Mr. Spector looked at this guy with a mad look on his face?
10, 15 seconds.
Did the guy say anything to Mr. Spector?
No.
Once inside the car, once Mr. Spector got inside the car, did you then get inside the car?
Yeah, closed his door, and
And where was Kathy?
she is already inside. She was already inside.
What happened after all three of you, Mr. Spector, Kathy, and you, got inside the Mercedes and closed the doors? What happened then?
He told me to go to House of Blues.
At that point, did you notice anything about Mr. Spector's speech pattern?
A little bit.
Describe that.
He was like I said, he was like a little bit slow, like speaking like slow, and I think it's like started having difficulty to say, to talk.
All right. He was beginning to have some difficulty speaking.
Yes.
Could you understand him?
Yes.
He told you to go to the House of Blues.
Yes.
And you see where the pointer is pointing to House of Blues in West Hollywood?
Yes.
Is that approximately where the House of Blues is?
Yes.
All right. How long did it take you to get from the antennas to the House of Blues?
I was really fast. It was probably 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Once you were at the House of Blues, where's the first place that you stopped?
I didn't know the place, and I stopped like close to the top, but was not the correct place.
All right. Your Honor, if I may, I believe it's People's 19. There's 5 video clips. I'd like to play one of those video clips at this time with court's permission.
All right.
Take a look, if you will. This is a relatively short video clip. I don't know if you've ever seen this or not. When we play it after it's done, I'll ask you a couple of questions about it. Your Honor, may the record reflect that I've just played the first of the 5 video clips, maybe, I don't know, a minute and a half in length.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to ask you a couple of questions about that. Have you ever seen that before?
This video?
Yeah. Did I ever show you that video before?
No.
All right. Did you recognize what was on that video?
Yes.
All right. Describe for the jurors, if you will, who was in the video and what car we're talking about and where that was taken.
The first car is a black Mercedes that I was driving that night.
Okay.
I was there, Mr. Spector was there, and Miss Sullivan was there too.
Okay. Was that the first place that you stopped when you said, I didn't really know where to go? Is that the first place you stopped?
Yes.
All right. And it appeared from the video that the 3 of you had gotten out of the car and then some discussion or somebody talked and then you got back in the car, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Did you also notice, Mr. D'Souza, the clothes all appeared to be sort of whitish?
Yes.
All right. You were wearing a black suit, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Did that look like an infrared or night vision camera that was changing the colors of the clothes?
Yes.
Did you recognize yourself?
Yes.
Were you the person in the suit who got in the front seat of the car?
Yes.
Did you recognize Kathy Sullivan?
Yes.
Was she the short, blonde-haired, kind of small woman who
Yes.
got in the back seat?
Yes.
Did you notice Mr. Spector? Did you recognize Mr. Spector in the video?
Yes.
Was he the man wearing the longer white jacket with the long, curly, almost black hair?
Yes.
I'd like to mark this people's next in order what appears to be a people's 23, I guess.
It is.
What appears to be a booking photo.
People's 23.
Thank you. Take a look, if you will, at what's been marked as People's 23. That is a little bit skewed. May I approach the witness for the
You may.
actual photo? Thank you. Counsel, take a look at this photo and tell me if you recognize the person depicted in that photo.
Yes.
Is that approximately how Mr. Spector's hair looked that night when you took him out?
Yes.
Is that approximately how his hair looked on the video as well, even though it's kind of a poor quality?
Yes.
23? Okay, Sudi, we can take that off. After stopping the car the first time, Mr. D'Souza, and realizing that you were at the wrong entrance, where did you go?
We went to the second entrance, down to the ramp.
When you say down to the ramp, describe for the jurors, those of us who are not.
Terry, you're probably not the only one. I have a bad habit of making comments and you guys can't hear me because I don't want to pause it for everything I say because sometimes they're just stupid little remarks. I just said the many wigs of Phil Spector. That's all I said. See, it's not worth pausing the trial for.
Familiar with it, how you got down there?
It's just like a driveway going down, and there's like a couple of people outside the valet parking of the House of Blues.
Is it a steep driveway?
Yes.
And is it curved to the left?
Yes.
And once you get down toward the bottom, does there appear to be kind of a valet parking area?
Yes.
Is that where you finally dropped them off?
Yes.
Did you see Mr. Spector and Ms. Sullivan get out of the car?
Yes.
And what did you see them do once they got out of the car?
They went inside.
What did you do?
Oh, I tried to park the car like close to the door.
And what happened when you tried to park the car close to the door?
It was a little bit difficult. There's like some trucks trying to unload some drinks, things like that. And then I found a place to park. Finally, I found a place to park.
How far away did you find a place to
That's
park?
really close.
When you say pretty close?
Now it's like 30 feet, 30 feet from the door.
Okay. How long did you wait out in the car before you saw someone else come out and approach you?
Probably 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
20 to 30 minutes?
Yeah.
And what happened after that 20 to 30 minutes?
Miss Sullivan
Yes.
and Miss Clarkson, they came out.
You said Miss Clarkson. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Taking a look at people's 14 for identification. Do you recognize the person in that photo?
Yes.
Who is that?
Miss Clarkson.
All right, that's the person you're referring to as Miss Clarkson. Let me ask you a couple of questions about that, Mr. D'Souza. At that point in your life, in 2003, had you ever met Lana Clarkson before?
No.
Was this the first time you ever saw her?
Yes.
What happened when Miss Clarkson came out of the House of Blues with Miss Sullivan?
She introduced herself.
How did she, tell me about that. How did she introduce herself? What did she say?
Like we shook hands and she said like, I'm Lana Clarkson, I work in a House of Blues. Mrs. Spector told me to tell you to give a ride to Miss Sullivan and return.
Do you have any problems understanding her instructions?
I know.
Did she seem nice?
Oh, yes.
Polite?
Yes.
Professional?
Yes.
Did you follow her instructions?
Yes.
What did you do?
I went to Miss Sullivan's house. I dropped her there and I returned to the House of Blues.
How long did it take you to get from the House of Blues over to Miss Sullivan's house and back to the House of Blues?
Probably less than 10 minutes, around 10 minutes.
Did you have any conversation with Miss Sullivan when you dropped her off or on the way over to her house?
Kind of.
Do you have any, you knew her from the grill, correct?
Yes.
Okay, was she friendly to you?
Yes.
Did you have any problems understanding her?
No.
Did you two have a conversation?
Yes, but nothing important. Like, because,
just normal
I asked
greetings?
her if she would have to work in the next day, something like that.
And what'd she say?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm tired, things like that.
She said she was tired?
Yeah.
All right. After you got back to the House of Blues, how long did you, well, let me ask you this before we get there. When Miss Sullivan appeared in the back of the car after the House of Blues, did she appear drunk to you, intoxicated?
No.
Did you smell any odor of alcohol coming from her?
No.
She appeared sober?
Yes.
Once you were back at the House of Blues, Mr. D'Souza, how long did you wait until Mr. Spector came out?
It was fast, it was between 5 and 10 minutes probably.
Where did you park the Mercedes when you got back to the House of Blues?
At that time, I parked in the valet zone.
Where's the valet zone? Describe it as best you can toward the bottom of that driveway area.
The House of Blues has like a small house outside. It's really, really small. I think the valet parking usually keep the keys inside. And I asked the guys over there, they said that I could park in front of this small house.
I'm going to show you a picture. It's previously been marked as People's 20 photograph. I believe it's photograph B as in boy. Do you recognize what's in this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Is this that bottom area, the parking area that you've described for the jurors at the House of Blues?
Yes.
Do you see the Mercedes in that photograph?
Yes.
Is that the Mercedes, what I'm pointing to?
Yes.
May the record reflect on photograph B on People's 20. I've pointed with a laser pointer to an area just behind where 4 prominent people are standing in the picture. I should rephrase that. 4 people are prominently standing in the picture. Who knows if they're prominent? I think that's the best description I can give it at this point.
Yes.
That's the Mercedes. It's kind of hard to see in this photograph, but you can see where it's parked, correct?
Yes.
Is that where you waited for Mr. Spector to come out?
Yes.
While I've got this photograph up, as a matter of fact, I might as well ask you, do you recognize the two people depicted in the middle of this quartet?
Yes.
Who are those two people?
Mr. Spector and Miss Lana Clarkson.
And do you recognize which one is which? Who's
Yes.
Describe them for the jurors,
On
please.
the left looks like white, but it's Mr. Spector, on the right, Miss Lana.
All right. And I had my laser pointer when you said on the left to the person, the shorter person to the left, correct?
Yes.
In the white jacket?
Uh-huh.
Is that yes?
Yeah.
How can you tell who any of those people are? It's just blurry people.
And just to the right of that person is another person taller with what appears to be a handbag over her right shoulder, correct?
Yes.
And that's Lana Clarkson, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and those two arrows are depicting those individuals right now. Thank you, Sue. Were you waiting outside the car, Mr. D'Souza, when Philip Spector came out of House of Blues?
Yes.
Sort of answered this question with that photograph. Did he come out alone or was he with somebody?
For Miss Lana.
All right. Take a look. Take a look at the following video clip. It runs for just a couple of seconds, or maybe a little bit more than a minute. Actually, it runs for 2 minutes and 23 seconds, it looks like.
Lana standing next to Phil. Isn't she like head and shoulders above him? They look like they're the same height. Well, he did wear. Unless that's Adriano I'm seeing. So I can't tell who's fuzzy.
All right. Did you recognize the people in that video clip? And for the record, I should say, Your Honor, that was People's 19, the fifth in the order, fifth video clip. Did you recognize the people in that video clip?
Yes.
Was that Mr. Spector and Miss Clarkson coming out of the House of Blues?
Yes.
Did you hear Mr. Spector have a conversation with Miss Clarkson?
Yes.
What did he say?
He invited her to go to the castle.
And what was her response?
First was no.
What was his response when she said no?
She said, no, I'm tired. I have to work in the morning.
What happened after that?
I think he insisted. He asked like 3 times more or 2 times more. Let's go to the castle. Let's go to the castle.
So he was insisting?
Yes.
And what was her response?
I think she was afraid to go. So
The objection is sustained. The answer is stricken. The jury is admonished.
Without telling me what you think, tell me what you saw or heard. What did she say?
she said that she could like lose the job if she got like a ride from
Okay.
some customers.
All right. Did Mr. Spector continue to insist?
Yes.
Well, Your Honor, I'm objecting to characterization. Can we just have the words?
Well, that's based on the previous answer of the witness. So the objection is over.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did Mr. Spector continue to insist that Ms. Clarkson join him?
Yes.
Did he, in fact, Mr. Spector, convince Ms. Clarkson to get a ride from him?
Yes.
What was her response with regard to her car?
I think her car was parked like close to the House of Blues. She needs to go there to pick her car up.
Did she insist that she be able to pick her car up?
I would object to that. Actually, insist comes from the question, not the answer.
Actually, it didn't.
At this point, did she insist that you have her car picked up? I will sustain the objection to that. You may rephrase it.
What did Ms. Clarkson say with regard to picking her car up? What did she say?
She accepted the right to go to pick her car.
And where was her car?
Her car was in a parking structure close to the House of Blues.
What happened once you got to the parking structure?
We found her car. I opened the door for her, and I opened the door for Mr. Spector.
What happened once Mr. Spector got out of the car, the Mercedes?
What an ass. The entitlement of this guy. Every woman he sees, come back to my house with me. What? He's a little troll. The man is a little troll. And every beautiful woman he sees, come back to the castle with me. No. No means no. Shut your pie hole. I said no. What is wrong with this man? Oh my God.
I think he wants to go to the bathroom. He wants to go to the bathroom.
And where did he go to the bathroom?
Behind the wall.
What did Miss Clarkson do?
He went to her car, and we followed her until to a street close to the.
Did he just say he peed behind the wall? Ooh.
Parking structure.
What kind of car was she driving?
She was driving a small car. It's like a black Mercury.
Did she?
Yes.
Like that.
She parked the car in the street. I stopped the car, and I opened the door for her.
Did she say anything to you?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she was going. She was going just for a drink.
Did you say anything to her?
Just like say yes, okay.
And did Mr. Spector say anything when she said, "I'm going for just one drink"?
Yes.
Or just a drink? Is that what you said?
Yes.
All right. What did Mr. Spector say?
Don't talk to the driver.
How did he say that?
He's screaming.
Screamed it?
Yes.
Was he screaming at you?
To her, for her.
Did you notice anything about Mr. Spector at that time concerning whether or not he was drunk or sober?
Yes.
What did you notice?
He was smelling alcohol.
I'm sorry?
He was smelling alcohol.
He was smelling of alcohol?
Yes.
Did he appear to be drunk?
Yes.
Was he walking any differently?
Yes.
I'm object to suggest that something.
Overruled. The question was he walking any differently can be answered yes or no. It is not overly leading in my mind. The objection was overruled. You may answer.
Go ahead and answer.
Yes.
Okay. You said that you had seen Mr. Spector drunk in the past, correct?
Yes.
In the past, when you've seen him, was he as drunk this time as you've seen him in the past?
Yes.
Did Miss Clarkson appear to be drunk?
No.
Did you drive Mr. Spector and Miss Clarkson back to the castle?
Yes.
How long did that take you?
Around 30 minutes.
Once back at the castle, what happened?
He told me to go to the front gate.
Is that, Your Honor, I have another exhibit that I'd like to have marked as people's next in order. I believe it's 24. 24, thank you. And it appears to bear 4 photographs. I want to direct your attention on people's 24 to the bottom left photograph, well, actually the top left photograph, photograph A. Sorry, Sudi. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you see, there you go. Can you see the black Mercedes that's in photograph A?
Yes.
What is this area showing?
Front gate of the house.
All right. Is that the same gate that you pushed the button to be let in?
Yes.
Is that the same gate that you took Miss Clarkson and Mr. Spector to when you arrived at the castle?
Yes.
Take a look at photograph C. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What is that?
It's the stairs that give access to the front door of the house.
Normally, when you take Mr. Spector home, do you drop him off at the back door or up these long steps?
Back door.
Did he say anything about being dropped off at these steps?
Yes.
What did he say?
He told me to stop on the stairs.
Did he say why?
No.
Did you have an idea as to why?
Well, wait a minute. Objection.
Objection is to any idea why, sustained, speculation.
Had you ever dropped Mr. Spector off alone at these front steps?
No.
Normally, when you drop him off, where do you drop him?
Back door.
Once you drop Mr. Spector off, did Miss Clarkson get out of the car with him?
Yes.
And where did they go?
Up to the stairs.
Did you then drive toward the back door?
Yes.
I'd like to have marked as People's Next in Order 25, a 8.5 by 11 bearing 5 photographs A through E.
So marked.
Take a look at this photograph and tell me, does this appear to be the back motor court?
Yes.
Did you drive to this location approximately after you dropped Miss Clarkson and Philip Spector off?
Yes.
Where did you park the car?
The same place that I parked when I started the job at 7 o'clock.
Excuse me, could we get a designation as to which one this is?
This is photograph
25, the one that you
No,
just
it's
marked?
25, but is it a D or?
photograph A is an apple.
Let's say, okay.
Sorry about that. Is that approximately this location where the laser pointer is?
Yes.
May the record reflect I've pointed to the bottom of what appears to be the tallest part of the building, or the tallest part of the white portion of the building, just to the left of the fountain.
Yes.
Does that appear, although the doors are open on this particular shot of the Mercedes, does that appear approximately where you parked the Mercedes that night after you dropped Miss Clarkson and Phil Spector off?
Yes.
Could we get the identification of the
Sorry, this is previously marked as People's 22, photograph C is in Charlie. After you dropped Mr. Spector and Miss Clarkson off, what happened? When was the next time you saw Mr. Spector?
Around like 10 minutes later.
What did he do?
He opened the back door of the house, and I got out of the car, and he didn't say anything.
So what happened?
Then I tried to give to him everything that he left inside the car.
Which was what?
It was a briefcase.
The same briefcase that he came out
Yeah, the
with?
same briefcase and a portable DVD.
All right. Were there also some cell phones?
Yes.
What did you do with those cell phones?
I found a cell phone and a magnifying lens. I just dropped inside the bag.
All right. So did you basically clean up the back seat area?
Yes.
Is that normal for you?
Yes.
After Mr. Spector stepped outside, did you hand him that valise or that briefcase?
Yeah. The first time I tried to give to him, he said, I don't want that. And when I was returned to the car, he asked me for the briefcase.
How far away were you standing from Mr. Spector during this conversation?
I was really close. It was from here to the floor.
Indicating about 3 to 4 feet.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ultimately, did you give Mr. Spector that valise?
Yes.
How did you give it to him? Did you place it inside the house, or did you give
Yes. I gave to him, I think, the DVD, and I placed the wallet in the chair.
May I approach briefly?
You may.
Demonstrative purposes. Assuming that I'm about the distance between yourself and Mr. Spector, how far did you have to go to get to that back door? Closer than I am, or the same distance?
Close. I stepped like I think I went inside the house like 2 steps and I gave to him the DVD, and I dropped the bag inside the house.
So you had the bag in your hand, and you stepped 2 or 3 steps inside the back door and dropped the bag?
Yes.
Did you put it in a chair? Did you put it on
In
the
a chair.
And attached to that bag were cell phones that had been left in the back of the car?
Yes.
How long did you wait outside the car? I'm sorry, let me ask it this way. What was the next thing that you heard or saw as you waited outside?
I waited in the car until like around 5 o'clock in the morning.
So this is about 2 hours?
Yes, around 2 hours.
And what happened?
I heard a pole, a noise.
What kind of noise? What did it sound like?
So like a pole.
You're saying Poe, like
Poe.
what we might say pow?
Pow.
Okay. Did that startle you?
Yes, I opened the door.
Open the door of the Mercedes?
Yes.
Were you inside the Mercedes?
Yes.
Was the radio on?
Yes.
Was the pow sound that you heard loud enough to hear over the radio?
Oh, I could hear like clear.
Clearly?
Yes.
What did you do when you heard this sound?
I opened the door and I tried to find where the noise came from.
And what did you what was the first thing you thought?
There is like an air conditioner outside. There is like a fountain outside. Could be like the air conditioner. Could be anything. Like there could be like the trees. There are a lot of trees outside.
When you got out of the Mercedes, what did you do?
Did I get
Could be a lot of trees outside.
a lot of trees?
Yes.
When you got out of the Mercedes, what did you do, Mr. D'Souza?
I tried to find the where the noise come from.
Where did you go?
I went like close to the fountain, just like check a little bit fast and returned inside the car.
Did you see anything unusual when you stepped out of the car?
No.
Did you ultimately get back in the car?
Yes.
What happened after you stepped back into the Mercedes?
Wait like for a minute probably, and Mr. Spector opened the door.
Open the back door?
Yes.
Sudi?
We reserved about 3 or 4 minutes at the end of the session.
Yes.
I'm showing what's been previously marked as People's 25. There's 5 photographs. Do you see that back door in photograph B, C, D, and E?
Yes.
Is that the back door you're talking about, Mr. Spector stepping out of?
Yes.
What happened when you saw Mr. Spector come out of that back door?
I got out of the car and he was at the door. At that time, he had a gun in his hand.
What kind of gun?
It's a revolver.
I'd like to have Mark and Peoples next in order a photograph of what appears to be a black .38 snub-nose revolver.
So marked.
Peoples 26. Thank you. May I approach briefly?
You may.
Take a look at what's been marked as People's 26. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes.
Does that look like the gun that was in Mr. Spector's hand?
Yes.
Which hand was it in?
Right hand.
And how was he holding it, Mr. D'Souza?
Close to his body.
Could you stand and show the jurors exactly how Mr. Spector was holding that gun?
Yes. Like that.
May the record reflect the witness has stood up. He has his right elbow bent at almost a 90-degree angle with his right index finger extended in the shape of a barrel, general shape of a barrel, basically in front of his belt buckle.
Yes.
Thank you. And it's pointed to his left.
Correct.
Mr. D'Souza, when you saw Mr. Spector step outside with this gun in his hand, approximately how far were you from him? And if you could place me in the courtroom that same distance, please. Just tell me where to stand.
Over here. That's it.
Right here?
Yes.
4 to 5 feet,
Thank you, Your Honor.
maybe 6 feet.
Thank you. Did you get a clear look at the gun?
Yes.
Do you know the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic handgun?
Yes.
How do you know that difference?
I was working with the guns in Army.
You were in the Army for, you said, close to 9 years, correct?
Yes.
Was the gun black?
Yes.
Did it have a different colored handle?
Yes.
What color was the handle?
Brown.
Did you see anything at that time on Mr. Spector's hand?
Yes.
Describe that for the jurors, please.
I saw a little bit of blood.
Where was that blood? And point to it on your hand where you saw blood on his
Was in
hand.
this finger on the top.
May the record reflect the witness is indicating his extended right index finger right along the top side of it, I guess.
Yes.
Thank you. When Mr. Spector stepped outside with the gun in his hand, were you already outside the Mercedes?
He opened the door. As soon as I saw him opening the door, I got out of the car.
Were you standing face to face with him?
Yes.
And you already indicated you were about where I was from you, correct?
Yes.
Could you see him clearly?
Yes.
Did Mr. Spector say anything to you?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said, I think I killed somebody.
Was he directing this comment to you?
Yes.
When he said, I think I killed somebody, what did you say then?
What happened, sir?
And what, if anything, did Mr. Spector do when you said, what happened, sir?
He moved his shoulders up.
Show the jurors what you're talking about when you say he moved his shoulders up. May the record reflect that the witness has shrugged and his eyebrows went up.
Yes.
Thank you. Did you attempt to see past Mr. Spector into the house?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you see?
Oh, Lord.
I saw saw the legs of the lady.
I wonder if AJ, when he heard Lally do all the what if anythings, I wonder if he thought, I used to sound like that. Because he's done like 3 in a row now.
It may be difficult to see from there, Mr. D'Souza. As you looked past Mr. Spector, could you see the legs of Lana Clarkson extended like they are in this photograph?
Yes.
Did you look past him even further or lean further, one way or the other, to see into the room?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw the blood in her face. I stepped outside and I saw the blood in her face.
Your Honor, I'd like to have marked as people's next in order a diagram. It's not to scale diagram.
I wonder if this is a good place to break.
With one more question.
All right, one more
This
question.
would be a good place.
The next exhibit would be 27.
Thank you. See what's depicted on the screen right now?
Yes.
Do you see where there's a car at the bottom
Yes.
and there's a car door open?
Yes.
Does this area, Mr. D'Souza, depict where you were standing approximately?
Yes.
Does this area depict where Mr. Spector was standing when he stepped out of the doorway and said, I think I killed somebody?
Yes.
Does this look like the body that you saw inside the room when you looked past Mr. Spector?
Yes.
That's all I have at this time. Your Honor.
All right, and counsel, you wanted some time, I'll give you some time when we're done. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition. We're going to resume tomorrow at 9:30. Let me inquire before you begin to leave. Do we have any resolution of whether Dr. Lee's going to be here tomorrow afternoon?
Yes.
What is this?
Absent travel, he's got a plane and he'll be here 1:30.
All right, so if you want to place witnesses on call to be, safe, you can do that. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as you're concerned, we'll be in session tomorrow from 9:30 to noon. In the afternoon, we have something else outside your presence we need to take because a witness is flying in from out of state. So you will not be in session tomorrow afternoon. And as you know, as we arranged, I have an educational commitment, a teaching commitment on Thursday. We will not be in session on Thursday. So just so that you can plan your schedules. And as to the witness, sir, you are admonished not to discuss your case with anyone except counsel in this case, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9:30. All right, the jury is excused.
Group of documents dealing with, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get a description so there's no doubt as to what we're looking for, but anything having to do with the education, anything having to do with the immigration correspondence between the immigration department and yourself, notice of the removal petition, anything having to do with that, which is.
When you said education, I didn't.
We got some documents from, I think it's Huntington Language School. It's an English academy, teaches English to people. We got some documents, I don't know if we have all, got part of the document referring to a removal action. We don't have that entire document, and we may not have all of the documents pertaining to that action. We don't have a petition for removal, for example.
Sir, what I need you to do when you come to court tomorrow, I need you to bring with you any documentation whatsoever that deals with your immigration status. Anything that you have in your possession, you're to bring with you tomorrow.
Yes.
And also, if you have any documents concerning your English education or any specialized training you've had in English, that you have any documents that pertain to that, would you bring those with you as well?
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
And that was the witness.
All right, sir, you may sit down. Thank you very much. We'll see you at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Susan, could you grab that, please?
Sure. What else did you need?
Your Honor, the photo exhibit 26 is, I think there's an improper labeling on that thing. If we could, I don't know if you can read it from there.
Sure, it says murder weapon.
Well, that's kind of what we're here to decide, Your Honor, and.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see what you're, take that off.
I'll be glad.
Thank you.
We'll
Okay.
replace that with one that just says 187 weapon.
Shouldn't say anything.
Just weapon.
Weapon will be fine.
Suicide weapon.
All right, enough. Weapon, in any event, yes. Anything else?
That's all. We just need a copy of exhibit 27.
Okay. Anything further?
Actually, Your Honor, there is one of,
Yes, Mr. Rosen.
That, not me.
I wonder, I don't think we got a copy of Exhibit 27B.
He just said that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear something.
Okay, anything further?
Anything else? I don't think so.
Okay. I got, Mr. Rosen, I have the emails. They're going to need some redaction if we're going to refer to them. And then we need to have a conference concerning those. Probably need to do a little bit of follow-up.
Can we do that maybe in the morning, if you get to it?
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay, it doesn't have to be done tomorrow, but in any event, I have those
When you
documents.
say follow-up, I take it to mean with you.
Some further questioning, I think, might be in order. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Carla, we're gonna do one more. This guy's testimony is 3 parts. We're gonna do the next part of his, and then I'm gonna take a break and eat lunch, and then I'm gonna come back and start another stream, and I'm going to read as many of the Karen Reed docs as I can before I lose my mind. Because there's a lot of them.
The parties are all present with the exception of the jurors and the alternates. Yes, somebody, it's 9:29, almost 9:45, and we haven't started, and the jury's in there. As it is every morning, somehow we can't seem to get started on time. The jury's time, the jurors' time is the most important. If anybody wants to raise something, get here early. I'm here early, and come see me. I'm tired of wasting the jury's time. I'm just letting everybody know. This has happened almost every day. This goes to all the attorneys. Stop wasting the jurors' time. Now, Mr. Bruno. With that,
Nice to see you this morning.
that's right, and a pleasure. I'm just letting you know, this is getting to be very, very annoying, and I'll do something if I have to. Okay, now, go for it.
Why don't I suggest this? Why don't the lawyers come in at 9:15 so we can raise these issues?
I'm here.
All right.
That's fine.
Because there's always legal issues. That's the nature of the game. All
The
right.
bigger the case, the more the issues always seem to be present. Anyway, let's move
I'll be
forward.
quick.
Okay.
We've got two issues with discovery. Yesterday, we were given a group of documents. Included was a partial form from the INS. It has to do with a removal action to deport Mr. D'Souza. We asked that the balance of that form be brought. Mr. D'Souza brought some records. Now, the partial page, or the page that is part of the form that was brought yesterday, we don't have. People are going to make a search for it and try to reproduce it, but it may be that it is only part of the entire removal action. We had previously issued a subpoena to INS, as is their wont. They ignored it. However, the prosecution has enlisted their assistance to keep Mr. D'Souza in the country. They've written a number of letters to the INS. The INS has responded favorably to this level of government's request. That shows the relationship between the agencies. I'm asking the court, and I asked the people if they would voluntarily attempt to get the INS file. They refused. It's their right. I'm asking the court under Brady to order the prosecution as part of their discovered responsibility to make a good faith effort to get that INS file. I don't think they can take the cherries and leave the pits, and that's what's happening. That's point one. Point two is...
How is his driver's immigration status Brady? How? Anybody, can you tell me how that's Brady? How is that Brady? His driver's immigration status has nothing to do with exculpatory evidence. Tell me how that's Brady. Any lawyers watching this on Replay Crew, can you please tell me how that's Brady? That is not a Brady violation. I'm sorry, you're reaching.
Part of a procedure that I want to use portions of the grand jury and other transcripts of this gentleman's actual statement. I would like, in addition to reading it to him, which is harder to understand when you're just hearing the words, I would like to show the portions of the actual transcript that I'm reading to the witness and to the jury and to the court via the screen. We can authenticate every section. It is all part of transcripts supplied by the prosecution. If they think there's an error, we think there's an error, we can certainly reserve that. But there seems to be a very high degree of accuracy. Mr. Jackson doesn't, without the court's approval, well, Mr. Jackson's going to object. He told me, I want the court to approve that so we can make this clearer and more understandable. And I think it's a proper way to impeach the witness.
Great. I'll take this up after the witness's direct is finished when it's appropriate and not on the juror's time, but I will take it up. Thank you. Let's bring the jurors up. All right. The record will reflect that the jurors and alternates are present. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As usual, we've started a little late. I've had a conversation with the attorneys about that, and hopefully that won't be happening anymore, and we'll start when we're supposed to, when you're here at 9:30. With that in mind, the witness is still under oath, is again on the stand, and you may resume.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. D'Souza, when we left off yesterday, you had indicated that there were times when Mr. Spector was difficult to understand after he had been drinking, correct?
Yes.
Is that because sometimes he would mumble during conversations or words would get lost in his conversation?
Yes.
All right. I want to make it very clear. Tell the jurors, when Mr. Spector stepped out of the back door at approximately 5 a.m. on February 3rd, 2003, and said, I think I killed somebody, was he mumbling at that time?
No.
Did he speak clearly?
Yes.
Did you clearly understand his words?
Yes.
Mr. D'Souza, during the course of the evening, and I want to draw your attention a little bit further back to when you were leaving the House of Blues, did Mr. Spector give you orders to follow Ms. Clarkson out of the parking garage to park her car?
Yes.
Did you clearly understand it?
Yes.
Did he give you orders to take him and Ms. Clarkson back to the 1700 Grandview location?
Yes.
Did you clearly understand it?
Yes.
Did he give you orders to stop at the front gate as opposed to going on and proceeding on to the back door where you normally dropped him off?
Yes,
Did you clearly understand it?
yes,
Did you clearly understand Mr. Spector when he stepped out of the doorway with the gun in his hand?
yes.
And what exactly do you recall him saying when he stepped out?
That's been asked and answered at least 3 times.
The objection's overruled.
What were his exact words, Mr. D'Souza?
He said, I think I killed somebody.
Take a look, if you will, Your Honor. I'd like to mark as people's next in order a diagram. It appears to be an overhead diagram of the 1700 Grandview Alhambra.
It's a
residence.
photograph, not a it looks like a
I'm sorry, I said diagram. You're correct. It's a
People's
photograph.
28.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I'll place a P28 in the lower right-hand corner. Do you recognize this aerial photograph?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's Mr. Spector's house.
You mentioned that there was a fountain in the motor court area, correct?
Yes,
Am I pointing to that fountain?
yes,
Your Honor, may the record reflect that I was pointing to basically the dead center of the photograph, a light blue, what appears to be a fountain.
Yes.
To the left and just above on this photograph, People's 28, do you see this structure here?
yes,
Is that the garage?
yes,
And I'm sorry about that. Go ahead and go back to the full screen if you would. Thanks. And this entire structure here that it's kind of a lazy horseshoe, what is that?
it's Mr. Spector's house.
Was your car parked approximately here where the laser pointer is right now, just in front of the back door?
Yes,
And the front door is down to the bottom of this picture, is that correct?
yes,
And there are a series of stairs that lead off the photograph, yes?
yes,
I want you to recall when we spoke, you indicated that you were about 6 feet or so away from Mr. Spector stepped out of the doorway, correct?
yes.
What was he wearing when he stepped out of the doorway?
Wearing the same clothes that at the time that I picked him up
The black
at
pants?
7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, the black pants, black shirt, and a white or beige suit.
The jacket?
Yeah, jacket.
Take a look at what's been marked as People's 25 photograph D. Do you see that photograph?
Yes,
Do you see on either side, by the way, is this approximately right in front of this doorway? This is where you were parked?
yes,
And this is where you stepped out of the car?
yes,
And this is where Mr. Spector stepped out of the house?
yes,
Do you see the lights on either side of the doorway?
yes,
Were those lights on when Mr. Spector stepped out of the doorway?
yes,
Do you see the light just underneath, or directly above the overhang, or just above the doorway?
yes,
Was that light on as well?
yes.
Sudi, if you wouldn't mind, go to photograph E on that same exhibit. On People's 25 photograph E, do you see that overhead light?
Yes,
Is that the light that was on when Mr. Spector stepped out of the doorway?
yes,
Did you have a clear view of him?
yes,
Could you clearly see the gun in his hand?
yes,
And you've earlier described the gun as being a black revolver with a brown handle, correct?
yes,
I want you to explain to the jurors, when we left off yesterday, you had briefly explained that after Mr. Spector stepped out of the doorway with the gun in his hand and said, "I think I killed somebody," you looked to your left around Mr. Spector through the doorway. Is that correct?
yes.
What did you see when you looked inside?
I saw Mr. Clarkson's body with some blood in the face.
You saw Miss Clarkson's body?
Body.
And what position was she in, or what position did it look like she was in from your...
She was half in the chair and it's like kind of lay down in the chair and legs on the floor, things like that.
Was her body at an angle? Or
Yes.
Describe
Like
the angle.
45 degrees, something like that.
Show the jurors what you mean by 45.
Like in this position.
May the record reflect that the witness has sort of slumped down in the chair in the witness stand and extended both of his legs out in front of him, leaning a little bit to his right.
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to have marked at Peoples next in order a series of photographs, be Peoples 29 with the court's permission.
All right.
These photographs appear to show Ms. Clarkson, a couple of further shots and then a couple of close-up shots. I'm placing a P29 on the bottom right-hand side. Take a look at these photographs. Specifically, I want you to take a look at photograph B as in boy on Peoples 29 and tell me if you recognize the person that's slumped in that chair.
Yes.
Who is that?
Miss Lana Clarkson.
Is that approximately the same position that you saw her in when you looked past Mr. Spector?
Yes.
Take a look at photograph D as in dog, bottom left, okay? Do you see how Miss Clarkson is situated with her head to the left?
Yes.
At the time that you looked at her, do you remember if her head was to the left or to the right, or do you know?
I don't remember. Right now, I don't remember.
All right.
I saw some blood, but I don't remember the sign.
All right. When you say you saw some blood, take a look at the photograph to the right of D to photograph E. Does that look consistent with the amount of blood that you saw on her face? Is it more? Is it less?
It's more.
It's more in the photograph?
More.
So in other words, when you saw her, she did not have this much blood, or you don't recall this much blood on her face?
No.
All right. Go ahead and take that off for me, Sue.
I have a structured settlement and I...
Come on, StreamYard. No one wants to hear this mouth. Shut it down. They don't want to look at me either, but. I am one.
You said that you had to look twice past Mr. Spector. Is that right?
Yes.
Describe that for the jurors. What do you mean by that?
The first time that I tried to see inside, I saw the legs of the person, of the Miss Lana. Then I have to step outside and to see the whole body to make sure that there is anybody over there, it's not like a mannequin or something like that.
When you stepped further to the left, did you look around Mr. Spector? Could you see past him?
Yes.
Could you see into the foyer area, into that area where Miss Clarkson was?
Yes.
Is it at that point that you saw her face and saw the blood?
Yes.
Did you say anything to Mr. Spector?
I asked him what happened.
It's never a mannequin. The one thing that we have learned from true crime documentaries is that it's never a mannequin. Anytime you think it's a mannequin, it's not. It's never a mannequin. Don't touch it. Don't go near it. Just call 911. It's never a mannequin. Never.
Happened.
Did you say it just like that? What happened?
Yes.
What was Mr. Spector's response?
He moved his shoulders up.
Yesterday you suggested that he shrugged.
Yes, it's like, yes.
All right. Did he say anything verbally?
After that, no.
What did you do after you saw Mr. Spector shrug?
No, I think I killed someone is probably all he needed to say. Yeah. I don't think I would have said anything else after that either.
And you had seen Miss Clarkson's body in the foyer.
But the first time I didn't know what to do. I tried to run and I didn't know how to use the cell phone at that time.
Explain that. What do you mean?
I get the cell phone. I don't know who to call, and I don't know if I have to call anybody. I don't know at that time. I was I don't know if I was in shock or something like that. And I tried to run. Then I forgot that I had a car behind me. I could drive the car. Then I run back to the car.
Mr. D'Souza, how far did you get when you said you immediately began to run?
10 feet, I'm not sure.
And then it came to mind that you've got a car sitting there.
Yes.
And you had the keys to the car.
Yes.
When you saw Mr. Spector standing there with a pistol in his hand and Miss Clarkson's body with blood on her face, did that scare you?
Oh, yeah.
Were you panicked?
A little bit.
When you came back to the car, what did you do after that?
I tried to escape from that place.
Why?
I was afraid. He could shoot me, or he could shot me, or something like that. I'm not sure. I was afraid.
Did you get in the car?
Oh, yes.
And what did you do?
I turned on the car and I tried to, like I said, I tried to escape. I just take the driveway down to get out of the property.
When you began to drive away, did you see what Mr. Spector did?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Just give us a second. Oh, it's okay. I can't make you leave, so it's all right. You've got me trapped. You may resume.
Thank you. Mr. D'Souza, when you got into the Mercedes and finally began to drive away in a panic, did you see what Mr. Spector was doing?
I don't remember right now. I think he was not in the door anymore, but I don't remember. Honestly.
Do you remember having a conversation with the investigators of this case directly after this happened on the same morning?
I think so, yeah.
And that interview is videotaped?
Yes.
And tape recorded, audio taped as well?
Yes.
You were telling the investigators, as best you could recollect, your honest memory of what had happened that morning?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember telling the investigators, Mr. D'Souza, that you saw Mr. Spector simply turn around and look back in the doorway and stare into the doorway toward Miss Clarkson's body?
That's cool. My sister-in-law's husband's dad has an old VW bus and van, the old VW vans, and he has a full-size skeleton that he sits in his passenger side with him. And it's so cool. I love it. I love stuff like that.
I don't remember, could be.
If you said that, would that have been your honest recollection at that time?
Excuse me, and it's argumentative that, and it's also leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes.
Okay. What did you do after you got in the car and began to drive away? Where did you go?
I tried to call Mr. Spector's secretary.
Who is Mr. Spector's secretary? Is that Michelle Blaine?
Yes.
All right. Mr. D'Souza, why would you call Michelle Blaine before you called anybody else?
I didn't have the address at that time. I know how to go to the place, but I don't have the address in mind.
Why was it important to have the address in mind?
Because I had to call the police.
Did you, in fact, talk to Michelle Blaine when you called? Well, let me ask you this foundationally. In your phone, you know how cell phones work, obviously.
Yes.
Did you have Michelle Blaine's number in the memory of the phone?
Yes, of course.
So you could you didn't have to dial a number. You could just scroll down to her name and hit send, and it would connect the call?
Yes.
All right. Did you do that?
Yes.
Did you talk to Michelle Blaine?
No.
Why not?
She didn't answer the phone.
What did you do?
I left a message to her.
And what did you tell Miss Blaine on the message?
I'm going to object that. Hearsay.
Overruled. It's an excited utterance.
I said that I think Mr. Spector killed somebody. You have to come. Please call me.
After you left that message, did you make any other phone calls?
Yes, I did.
Did you make the phone call to Miss Blaine while you were driving down the driveway, or?
Yes, while I was driving.
Where did you ultimately go? Where did you stop in the Mercedes?
I opened the gate and I parked the car outside, and I called the police because there is a sign outside saying the correct address.
Take a look at the photograph that we previously marked as People's 24 photograph A, if you wouldn't mind, Mr. D'Souza. Do you see see where the Mercedes is in this picture?
Yes.
Is that the front entrance to the castle?
Yes.
It's very difficult to see, Mr. D'Souza. Do you see there's a sign mounted on the wall just beyond the Mercedes, right where my laser pointer is?
Yes,
Does that bear the address 1700 Grandview?
yes.
You know the address now, you didn't know it then?
At that time, no.
When you got down to this location, did you park approximately where the Mercedes is?
Yes, exactly.
Was it facing the same direction, or
Yes,
so did you go down and make a U-turn?
yes.
Once you parked that car, did you make a second phone call?
Yes,
Who did you call then?
the police.
How did you contact the police?
911.
Did you actually get in touch with a 911 operator?
Yes,
Did you talk to one person or two people?
more than one.
Was it explained to you why you were going to talk to more than one person?
No.
Okay, but ultimately your call was transferred?
Yes.
Darn it.
I have a structured settlement and
I could go for hours on commercials and then we get 2 in a row. And now I have this stupid song stuck in my head. I hate these commercials.
First, I'll mark these as evidence, or as for identification first. How would the court, that would be you, how would the court ask? Do you want us to try to play them through the microphone over here from the witness stand? We have a relatively large tape recorder.
It's better, well, if you can get it on the witness stand, the microphone, and take the witness microphone, it tends to project it very well.
That's fine, and we would simply ask Mr. D'Souza during the playing of these tapes, maybe just step down.
That's fine.
Tape recorder is going to be right in his face.
All right. Yeah. Ask before you do.
There's not. I think I'll ask him the foundational questions when we're finished. Okay. Cassette tape. It's labeled D'Souza message to M. Period. Blaine. I'd like to have that marked as people's next in order.
People's 30.
Thank.
I gotta tell you guys are. I watched a short this morning of a woman, like a young woman, trying to open a cassette tape. It was so funny. She's got the cassette tape and I don't know what she was trying to open it, but she's got the cassette tape and she's squeezing it and pulling it and she's got it like up close to her body, and whoever was with her that's filming her is like, what are you trying to do? And I'm trying to open it. How do you open? Is there a button? Does it slide? How do you get it open? I don't want to break it. It was so funny. They were clueless. They had no idea how to open a cassette tape. It opens like a book. It's not that hard. I'm sorry, I'm easily amused.
Thank you. And the associated transcript is a 3-page document that I'd like to have marked as People's 31.
All right, so marked.
I also have an additional tape that's labeled 911 call to CHP and Alhambra. That's People's 32. With the court's permission.
Yes.
And People's 33 would be the associated transcript. It is a 10-page document, and I have courtesy copies for the court, counsel, and all the jurors for each of these.
All right.
This is number one. Okay, this one. The court may require if all the jurors have both copies.
Certainly. Does anybody not have their copies yet?
Everybody's good to go?
Good to go.
At this time, with the court's permission, I'd like to play the first tape, People's, I think it's 30.
The first tape that you marked was 30, and the second tape would be 32.
Thank you. The first tape is going to be the call to Michelle.
You may.
Oh, this?
I have a feeling that's not going to need the microphone. I'm very impressed with the modern technology the DA's office has. It's very impressive. Yes.
I couldn't hear the court. I'm sorry.
It sounded like the tape was almost skipping, but I can't be sure. Maybe it's just the quality of the tape recording.
Your Honor, I believe Mr. D'Souza will say that's an accurate copy of the tape, but it was taken from a digital tape machine.
All right.
Poor quality, but it is an accurate rendition of the message that he left. Might I play that again? It's.
I think it needs to be played again. I was having trouble following.
Sure. It's only about 15 seconds long.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I know it's difficult with this kind of tape, but could you admonish the jury that the evidence is actually the tape and not the transcript?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's what you hear on the tape that matters. The transcription is there to aid you. It's what the transcriber heard and what he or she then put down on paper, but it's what you actually hear that will control.
May I, Your Honor?
You may.
For crying out loud, they had jump drives in 2007. They couldn't have put the digital recording on a jump drive and stick it in a laptop. What the fudge? 2007 was not ancient history. Oh my God.
I'm ready when you are. Your Honor, at this time, with the court's permission, we'll play People's 32, and the associated transcript 33 is with the jurors.
All 911 calls related to log number 235-1700 Grandview Drive in Alhambra are included. This name runs from approximately 0500 to 0510 hours. Log list spaces and or transmissions not concerning this incident have been deleted. This tape was prepared on December 29, 2003 at 8:01 hours by Public Safety Dispatch Supervisor 1 Sandra Hill, ID number Adam 9316. I'm hereby certified that this cassette recording is a true copy of the original master tape on file with the Department of the California Highway Patrol, Los Angeles Communications Center, Los Angeles, California.
911, what are you reporting?
Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm Phil Spector driver. I think my boss killed somebody. Please, can you send me a
You think your boss killed somebody?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Because I'm driving way outside and I don't know what it is. Send me.
Okay, where are you at?
It's 1700 Grandview Drive, please.
1700 Grandview?
Yes.
And why do you believe he may have killed somebody?
Because you have a lady on the floor and he has a gun in his hand.
Okay, stay on the line. Do not hang up. You're in Glendale?
No, I'm on the Alhambra. It's 1700 Grandview Drive.
Did you hear him shoot or anything?
Yeah, I heard like a noise and then he opened the door and I think I killed her. And then I outside the castle.
Okay, stay on the line. Do not hang up. I'll have received fee. You got a transfer from an address of 1700 Grandview Drive, reporting that he thinks his boss just shot and killed a woman. He heard the shot and he said there's a woman lying on the floor and his boss told him he thinks he killed her.
Okay, and this is at the house?
It's inside of a business.
Business?
Yeah. I'll bring him online. He's calling from cell phone 310-488-5548.
Okay, hello?
He's on.
Sir?
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
Oh my God, again.
Oh, okay, so your boss shot someone?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you heard a shot?
Yeah, I heard a shot outside. Then I'm outside the castle because I don't know what.
Is it a resident?
No, it's a resident.
Okay. Have you seen your boss?
Yes. He had a gun in his hand.
Oh, and where's the man now?
Yeah, come here.
Sir, where's the man? The man with the gun, where is he?
Oh, inside the castle because I'm outside. I'm afraid to go inside again.
But you saw him with the gun?
Yeah, I saw him with the gun.
Who did he shoot?
I don't know. I don't know the lady.
Okay, so stay on the line, okay?
Okay,
please.
Stop.
Okay, hold on, okay? Sir,
Yeah.
You said that's your boss. Okay.
Yeah. I'm his driver.
Oh, you're his driver?
Yeah, I'm his driver.
What do you drive? A taxi?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, what are you driving?
I'm driving Mercedes.
So where are you driving him to?
Oh my God. You looking out?
One way.
Okay.
Okay, so his transport service?
Yes, she is very credible. This is LA and she doesn't understand the concept of a driver?
No, I'm a private driver.
Okay, and your name, sir?
Adriano.
Okay, and your boss's name?
It's Phil Spector.
I'm sorry?
Phil Spector.
Phil?
Spector.
Phil Inspector?
Yeah, Phil Spector.
That's his name?
Yes.
S-E-A-L?
P-H-I-L.
C-H-I-L.
Spector.
Is he Asian or white or?
Sorry?
Is he a white or Asian? Is he an Asian person, a Hispanic person, or a white person?
No, it's a white person.
And his name is Phil, C-H-I-L?
Yeah, P-H-I-L.
Phil.
Phil, yeah.
Phil Spector? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, do you hear or see him anymore, or?
Sorry?
Do you see or hear anything else?
No, I'm outside the castle. I'm not inside anymore. I'm not here to go inside.
I don't want you to, okay? And what's your name, sir?
Oh, I saw the car.
You said the car?
Yeah, the police car is coming.
Okay, sir. What's your name?
Adriano.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you gave me that. And your last name?
Called S-O-U-Z-A.
Okay, and your phone number is 310-488-5548?
Yes.
Okay, have the unit been in contact with you?
Cool.
Let's see, you saw the policeman.
No, he's coming up.
Okay.
He's not only credible, you got to give him props. He's scared and he's in the country illegally and he still called 911. A lot of people in his shoes wouldn't have done that. So, yeah, he's credible. Absolutely.
Can I hang up this phone? No?
Okay, hold on. No. What color is your Mercedes?
It's black.
I will make sure that the officer makes contact with you first before.
Okay.
Okay?
He's inside the castle, sir. Inside, up.
Okay, you're going to talk to him, okay?
Your Honor, would you like us to go ahead and collect the transcripts at this
Yes,
time?
please, thank you.
Ah,
I have a structured settlement and I call J.J. Wentworth.
I know. How did this, I don't get how this was a hurry at all. I mean, it seems like a
D'Souza. May I approach briefly?
You may.
I'm going to show you part of the transcript of the tapes, of one of the tapes that you just heard. But before I do that, let me ask you, did you recognize the voice on the first tape, the call to Michelle Blaine?
Yes,
Whose voice was that?
my voice.
Was that your call that you described to the jurors making on your way down the driveway to Michelle Blaine?
Yes,
Did you recognize the voice or the voices on the second tape, the two 911 calls?
Yes.
Or rather, the 911 call to two transfers?
yes,
Whose voice was that?
my voice and the dispatcher voice.
When you made the first call, you didn't have to call back to be transferred. You just stayed on the line and were ultimately transferred to a second operator, correct?
Yes,
And that's when you said, oh my God, again, meaning you have to describe this again, correct?
yes,
All right. Was that the call, the single 911 call that you made that you earlier described to the jurors?
yes,
And that's when you were parked down at the entrance, correct?
yes,
On that second tape, do you remember hearing, and this is on, I've handed you a transcript just so you could recollect the exact words. On page 4, starting at about line 18, do you remember saying, yeah, I hear the like a noise. And then he opened the door and, quote, I killed her, end quote. And then I'm outside the castle. Do you remember saying that?
yes.
When you said the words, I killed her, what were you trying to describe?
I tried to tell the police that he said that.
Who said that?
Mr. Spector.
Were you describing what Mr. Spector said to you when he walked out of the doorway with the gun in his hand?
Yes,
And that's what you were trying to get across to the 911 operator?
yes,
When the police arrived, was it after that? In other words, on the tape, you can hear you say to the 911 operator, here they come now. And then you directed somebody, yes, he's in the castle or something like that, correct?
yes,
After that, did you hang up with 911?
yes.
And after that, did you ever go back up to that residence again?
Not that day.
May I approach?
Yeah.
Your Honor, that's all I have this time.
All right, I think we need to take up some issues before cross-examination. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping in mind the admonition, if you would step into the jury room at this time. And would you like Mr. D'Souza to remain or outside? Because I don't know what we're going to be discussing.
Whatever you will
Probably outside.
convey to him.
All right. If you would step outside, sir, just briefly, thank you. All right, the jurors and alternates and the witness have all left the courtroom. The first thing, Mr. Brunon, you raised two things this morning. One was the question of whether the court should direct the district attorney to attempt to obtain the cooperation of ICE, I believe, or INS.
Yes.
Okay. What's people's response to that?
Your Honor, our response is that we have no more influence or ability to get anything from the INS than the defense does. We have no special relationship with them. As the court knows, in dealing with federal judges, the federal government doesn't really care much about all of us at the state and local level.
You saw that.
Well, I remember there was some issue about a federal appearance here from Mr. Roran some time ago. We, especially at this late in the trial, for us to scurry around and be ordered to go try to get something from the INS, I think it's burdensome. It should have been done earlier. And again, they're not part of the law enforcement team here at all.
I understand they're not part of certainly the local team. Mr. Byrne, on your response.
Your Honor, there's a strange dichotomy with the relationship between the states and the feds. Douglas Sortino, when he was a mere lawyer, wrote to the INS on several occasions asking, please, will you make whatever efforts you need to make to keep Mr. D'Souza in the United States. His visa's expired, his status is uncertain, whatever the problem was, he was about to be removed, and he, Mr. Sortino, asked the INS not to remove him, to defer the action on that removal. There were a series of letters. Now, if the state prosecutors have no influence on the INS, one wonders why they would write. And also one wonders how it is that Mr. D'Souza, out of all of the applicants to the United States that want to remain here, when their visas expire, when their status goes illegal, he remains. It's just, I'm not going to say it's disingenuous, but I'm going to say that there is when we want them to help us, they're there. But when we want them to help the defense, we have no influence on them. I'm not asking the court to do anything other than to ask them to make a good faith effort to produce Mr. D'Souza's file. Now, there's an additional element to this. This is a belated request, although we have been requesting this data for a long time. We served a subpoena on Mr. D'Souza back in November. That's 6 months ago. Mr. D'Souza did not respond with all of the documents in his possession concerning his status, his application to stay in the United States, his application to bring family members here. He brought basically a notice to show up for some biometric measurements. Yesterday, apparently as a result of a meeting the night before, or maybe the night before that, but within the last 3 or 4 days, Mr. D'Souza gave over a series of documents. Among those documents is a partial immigration an immigration form that refers to the grounds for Mr. D'Souza's deportability. He's subject to removal, i.e. deportation under section 237A1I as a non-immigrant who failed to comply with the conditions of his visa. It says the subject is a material witness in the People versus Philip Spector. Douglas Sortino, Deputy District Attorney, requests deferred action for subject. So there's communication, there is influence, there is the ability to obtain assistance when they want it. We asked the people to ask Mr. D'Souza to bring the rest of this form. Now the whole form is gone. Not even this sheet exists anymore. I just received a little note here that said that people have asked their assistants, their investigators, other people working on the case, if they have any idea what happened to the form. Now nobody knows what happened to it. The only way we're going to get the complete story is if we get the prosecution to ask the INS to present the file. And I think they'll do it.
Thank you.
Well, this isn't the first time we've dealt with this, and I think Mr. D'Souza has been forthcoming not only with the court, but the prosecution and the defense on this. The court might recall when the defense, Mr. Brunon, dressed up a private investigator as a UPS employee to try to serve a subpoena on Mr. D'Souza. As a result of that, we all came to court, and the court, I believe, asked Mr. D'Souza to give up documents, which he did, and they've had these for a long time. So this is not something that's been hid. I'm sure the court recalls that, that incident. That was quite a while ago, and we dealt with it at the time. This is just a new effort to get what's not available, apparently.
Well, I'm prepared to rule.
May I just respond to that?
Well, you can if you want. I was about to rule in your favor. Do you want to add anything?
May I withhold my comment, Your Honor?
You may. Although the request may be belated, and I certainly recognize that INS does not have to cooperate with the district attorney's office if they choose not to. There is no reason why the district attorney, through the auspices of their office and with that prestige and the fact that they are a governmental, albeit a state, not a federal office, cannot request, excuse me, of the federal authorities that they attempt to cooperate and turn over a file. If they're willing to do it, then there's absolutely no reason why both parties should not have access to it. If they refuse to do it, then there's nothing we can do. We can't force the federal government to comply. But the bottom line is there's no reason why the district attorney's office, it's not burdensome to write a letter requesting cooperation.
Fine.
All right, thank you. Now, what was the other request you had?
Your Honor, as I briefly mentioned, and as the court sees as the case progresses, there were a lot of tape-recorded witness statements made in this case. And
you want the transcript up on the...
And could I just give you a for instance? Sure. Would you bring that portion of the transcript up, please? One of the issues is, we're jumping way ahead here, but this was a useful example, was Mr. D'Souza's recollection of Mr. Spector's condition when he came out of the house out of Trader Vic's. Yesterday he testified he was walking differently. He appeared different than he had been earlier and suggested that he was beginning to be under the influence. At the grand jury, he testified, no, he didn't notice anything unusual when he came out of Trader Vic's. He seemed to be normal. So, it's a minor impeachment, but we feel it's important. What I can do, and what is frequently done, particularly with, what's frequently done is ask him, well, didn't you say that to the grand jury? And if he says yes, the story's over. If he says no, then we either read it, publish it, somehow communicate it, that is prior testimony recorded, or at least that form of prior testimony. Mr. D'Souza is not a native English speaker, and some of the portions that I'm going to read to him are a little bit long. And because some of them are taken in an informal context, an investigator will interrupt. There will be some uhs and it is pauses. It's difficult to read it without paraphrasing it or to read it in an understandable manner. If we put it on the board, he can read his own words along with me, and I can ask him if he said that. If he says yes, we've accomplished our purpose with some understandability. If he says no, we'll mark that section, and if necessary, we will bring the investigator in to testify. Yeah, that's exactly what's on the tape. That's what he told us. So I think it gives clarity, and there's nothing improper about it. It is not someone else's version of what he said. It's a transcription of a tape of his actual words. So I'd ask the court's permission to proceed in that manner.
Thank you. Prosecution.
I'm sorry, the only thing I would draw the court's attention to is this is out of the ordinary. It's not the normal way of impeaching. And I think Mr. Brunon said it best when he said just a second ago, I'd like the court to make sure you instruct the jurors, make sure you instruct them, Judge, that the transcript's not the evidence. So now Mr. Brunon, because it aids him, wants the transcript to be the evidence. It's not the evidence. That's not the normal way to impeach. I know Mr. Brunon. I know he finished law school. He had to, didn't we both go to law school together? So I didn't mean that as a total.
Not together.
We both know how to impeach a witness, and that's not the normal way to do it.
I agree. It's not the normal way. The question is, are you going to suffer any prejudice from it? It's just a way. It's a different way of doing it.
I don't know if I can quantify the prejudice that I would suffer. I just don't think if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. I have to follow the rules of evidence. I think the defense should have to do the same.
Well, he's asking if you will. He didn't just do it. He asked if we can do it this way. He's made some persuasive reasons for doing it. I don't have a problem with it. If you were going to show me some prejudice from it, I was willing to listen and say, well, perhaps, that shouldn't happen. Otherwise, if you're not prepared to do that, I'm willing to do that, and I'll indicate to the jurors, again, it's a transcript.
It if he adopts it, fine. If he doesn't, we'll later, just get rid of the trash.
It also cut down going this question. All right.
I'm ready for about a 3-minute rundown in the hall if you'll give it to me.
I think I understand what you want. Granted.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, that's it. We are done for today. Yep, he was convicted 19 years to life and he died in prison. Okay, we're done with Phil Spector, and in about 15 minutes, I think I set it for 12, you're going to do Karen Reed docs. So I'm going to take a quick break, and I will see you guys over there at 12 o'clock. Thank you guys for coming out. This has been great, as usual. I am so glad that you guys are liking this trial. So I will see you guys over there. We won't do this tomorrow. We'll be back to it on Monday, and we will get the cross-examination of this witness. And I hope he didn't get deported. That's sad, because I think he did a really good thing by calling 911 on this guy. So, yeah, I will see you over there, guys. Thanks again. Thank you, replay crew. Love you guys. And I will see you guys on Monday. And anybody that's gonna read Karen Reed docs with me, I will see you guys in about 15 minutes. Bye.